Hello, hello, everyone. It's Conspiracy or Not. Here we come. And I have a couple of little announcements to make. We're taking a break. Bart wants to continue, and I want to continue. But Bart, unfortunately, tonight is dealing with some family issues, so he was unable to show up tonight. I'm not certain what the status of Aaron is, and he's certainly welcome to rejoin us at any point in time that he feels a desire to. And so that's where we're at. We're going to be taking a break. Like I said, it may be just a week or two. It may be longer. That depends on Bart. But we will certainly keep you posted as far as when we are actually going to do the next show after this one. And tonight we have I think the most awesome Gematrinator on the planet, Derek Tikkuri, and of Gematrinator.com. Greetings,
Well, hi,
Derek.
Amy. Thanks for having me back on the show.
Oh, absolutely. So, where do you want to start on this tonight?
Well, just to point out, tonight is episode number 83. And in the language of Gematria, my website's gematrinator.com. I don't know if someone has a link to that in the description or in the chat or whatever, but what I teach is the practice of coding numbers into words. And I came across the work of Zachary K. Hubbard around the year 2015, late 2015, early 2016. And I am actually a skeptic. I'm not a typical conspiracy theorist like most people would think I am, once upon coming across one of my videos. And I found it, and what he was sharing was so basic and so simple that I thought it couldn't possibly be legit. I thought maybe there was something to it. I didn't really know anything about it, and I was willing to kind of give it a chance. But ultimately, I was like, this is nuts. I mean, he's measuring to someone's birth date from the news story. I was like, what is this? Scroll. I would just pass it up. But once you start paying attention, and I'd be like, wow, something's up with this story, and go back to the blog and check it out. And sure enough, he's 58 days from their birthday. Secret society, Freemason, something like that. I'm
Amazing.
like, man, maybe something's going on. So, most people were just viewing Zach's work and just kind of taking his word for it, or, just seeing what he had discovered. And I'm like, this is too interesting. I said, this is so fascinating. And the current tools that were available were not at all satisfying. I mean, you had writingthebeast.com where you can punch in a word and then select the cipher, change the cipher, get one result at a time each time you click the button. I thought, this is no good. I mean, this is worth exploring, So I built a calculator for myself, just a little Excel thing. And, I was, for like a good month or so, I was the only one using it. And I started opening up these other ciphers, these expanded ciphers with the bigger numbers. And I was like, I kept messaging Zach. I was like, dude, these bigger numbers are lining up too. You got your Jewish gematria, your English extended gematria, because it's a layered practice. And, finally I got to a point where I was like, all right, not enough people are either capable with Excel or even have it in the first place. So I was off of work for surgery for my teeth. And one day I decided to buy a domain and threw on a website, just figured out how to build one. And within a day, I had the best gematria calculator on the internet. I'm a little biased, of course, but.
Well, no, I agree. It's the best.
Yeah,
I have been very impressed and really thrilled to be able to look at a gazillion different options and see what flutters by my vision as I do.
Sure.
So yeah, it's really awesome.
Yeah,
really,
and it's
really awesome.
It's really basic. I mean, it's as simple. Like I said, it's so simple. It's mind-numbingly like silly that we haven't come across this. And granted, it took someone like Hubbard and other people who were into it, but mainly Zach, as far as I know, to really pay attention and study and say, yes, this is not only real, but it's being used in the media. And you know, my calculator, when I came along, the first thing I did was I ended up making a video about a football game, and I sent the video to Zach, and I was like, dude, look at how coded this game is. And I mean, I made a spreadsheet. I'm a huge nerd, and the reason actually that I started to get into this numerology when it comes to sports is because I was a big time fantasy football player. I started up in like 2012. I won my first year. I won my third year. And then I started joining multiple leagues, and I started keeping spreadsheets. I would go into Yahoo and pull out all the stats every week, plug them in for every single player. And I had a special program for it. And I'm sure I could actually probably find that, share my screen or something, just so people can kind of see what sort of nerd I am, because it's really out of control. I'm going to try to share my screen. How do I do that?
You should see like a green arrow when you put your mouse over the screen.
Right on.
On the left. Yeah. Go ahead, and I will highlight you so that when I talk, it doesn't create issues.
Sure.
So everybody can see what you're outputting there.
All right, cool. Okay. So I used to keep this spreadsheet. You know, I had a page of all the individual stats. Like this would be the tally of a player's stats throughout the course of the season. Oh, I got to get rid of this code. And, you know, so I would keep an eye on this every week to look for certain trends and whatnot. And then I'd have an individual page where each player's individual stats were. And I just pulled this in, copied and pasted from a website. And over time, I started noticing that there were a lot of numbers that were just seemed to be repeating more often than they should. And, you know, and as I was learning about gematria and what the important numbers were and what the mathematics of the circle were, you know, I started to see those numbers in the statistics. And I'm like, my goodness, you know, this is too coincidental. You know, this is like what I'm learning about on the side. And it seems to be going on in football. Like I didn't understand that this was going on in sports too at the time, you know. And ultimately I paid attention and found out that Andrew Luck last year threw his 13th touchdown pass to number 13. It was, well, let's see. It gave him exactly 130 passing yards on the day. And this was the same day that number 13 returned a punt for a touchdown, you know, for the Eagles. And I just kept seeing the number 13. Like there was a 91-yard drive. It just kept going. And I said to my buddy, like, something's up with the number 13 today. And about an hour later, I got a news alert saying 13 were dead and 31 were injured in a bus crash. And I was like, what is going on? So at that point, then I got real serious with the calculator. Long story short, I mean, this is how I figured it out. You know, I kept my tables. Like I had graphs on all this stuff in a different file. And that's where I really got into the numerological aspect of the, you know, conspiracy theories, so to speak. So I put this video out, and I knew it was dangerous to, you know, the sports leagues that are coding these games by the numbers, because what I was showing was so concrete. I mean, they had coded the number 666 into this game like dozens and dozens of times. And all it took was for someone to just build a spreadsheet, you know, look at the plays and realize this was happening. So that was in December of 2016. And, you know, in that time frame, since my website's been launched, Zach Hubbard's lost 14, 15 YouTube channels. I even lost my YouTube channel. And, you know, I try not to say too many controversial things or curse words or attack people. I mean, my videos are so G-rated for the most part. There's really no reason that anyone could think of that anyone's approached me with as far as why they've been taking my videos down. And just on my new channel, even, I got a strike for one of my videos on the Austin bombings. And, you know, it just so happens that while our channels are being taken down and censored, all of a sudden you're seeing all these little gematria things pop up. People are uploading videos like, what is gematria? You know, and they're really well produced. They have music behind them. They have nice graphics. They're very attractive to the eye. My videos aren't like that. I use PowerPoint and I just animate the slides and then I narrate. Like, that's all I'm doing because I want to share the information. Well, I'm getting squelched. And you have people coming along making these fancy videos with their soft little music saying, oh, gematria is just something that exists in the Bible. And it's a way to code the numbers of Jesus Christ into the rest of the New Testament so that blah, blah, blah. It's being used by mainstream media to code their propaganda. And it's not just like, oh, they're doing some interesting things with numbers. They're repeating a couple numbers. What I'm claiming is that we've figured out pretty much exactly what they're doing with numbers. And, you know, it's all about time to these people. Everyone can acknowledge that, you know, that they're worshiping time in some sense. Time is very important. And, you know, some of these YouTubers who are still sticking around, you know, a couple of them said like, hey, you know, yeah, numerology is really important. It's a big deal. But gematria is, you know, just only a little small part of it. And to me, that's like walking into a room and saying, hey, I'm not racist, but y'all some niggas. I mean, what the hell? I mean,
Yes.
the letters are numbers. And just like ignoring the numbers that go along with the letters is, I think, kind of, you know, against their belief system. They have to pay attention to it. So to say it's not a big deal is completely wrong. And really, it connects the dots. I mean, once you look at gematria in relation to, you know, birthdays and whatnot, that's when you really start to realize that something bizarre is going on. So, yeah, I built this multi-layered calculator and, you know, started sharing finds with people. And we realized that this was a lot deeper than we had thought. You know, this is serious stuff. And just as an example, you know, like the last story I just looked at, you know, there's a lot of people doing decodes, and I'm still trying to perfect my blogging technique, so to speak. Like, I don't find my blog to be the best for readers to come along, and I think it has some good information, people who are familiar with the study. But anyways, as an example, so I saw a news story about this guy, Scott Foster, Blackhawks. This was a goaltender who came into the game for the Chicago Blackhawks last night. And what's interesting about this story, this guy was actually the first ever emergency goalie in the modern era in the NHL to play in a game, right? And that's pretty significant. So most people have a backup goalie. So when their main goalie gets injured, they bring in the emergency guy. And then very rarely, you only have one goalie going into the game. Maybe your starter's hurt, you got your backup, and then you have the emergency. So this is the first time an emergency goalie has ever been in a game. And, you know, the first thing that popped out to me when I was looking at the tweet where I originally saw this news is the 10:17 post time. I thought, 10:17, this is a story about an emergency goalie, right?
Right.
And the very first thing I punched in was emergency goalie. And when you look at that, it's 10:17 in English extended gematria. This is how legit this is. I mean,
wow.
For someone new to come into this and doubt it, I mean, it won't take you long to get past your skepticism.
Yeah, to start seeing the patterns and.
Yeah, so you look this guy up, right? Scott Foster. Does he have a Well, now that he entered an NHL game, I think it's kind of mandatory that he gets a Wikipedia page. So they created this for him this morning. And look at his birthday. 1/17. Emergency goalie. 10:17.
Wow.
10:17 tweet time. And I was like, okay, well, let's see. Let's see if there's any matches between his name, 137. Right away, you see the 33rd prime number.
Yep.
137, the 33rd prime, their favorite. And what do you know? Chicago Blackhawks, 137. Interesting. So let's continue. How old is this guy, right? So look at this. January 17th, 1982. I just want to, you know, take people, basically walk them through how I decode an event, because it really is this simple. And, you know, the idea that so many people are waiting for me to make content every day. Can you do a video on this? Can you do a video on that? And it's just so simple. So look at this date calculator. You punch in January 17th, 1982, and here's the date of the game, Thursday, March 29th. So he was 1,300 or I'm sorry, 13,220 days old. So there's your 322, another significant number. Chicago Blackhawks in the reverse alphabetic order, 322. And then what I've been saying is that, okay, so we figured out this numerical practice. It has to do with days from people's birthday, and I'll get to that in a second, but the ultimate marker of time to the occult is total solar eclipses. There are other forms of eclipses, annular, partial, hybrid. The partial ones aren't so significant. Hybrids, probably. Annulars, yeah, I think so. But definitely the total eclipses. And recently we had a total eclipse pass over the United States of America. And they didn't make a big deal out of it. They mentioned it for a couple weeks leading up to it. And after it happened, it was over with. Eclipses are the most significant thing. And check this out, for instance, right? Measuring from the eclipse on August 21st, 2017 to the date of this game was 31 weeks and 3 days. Now, when you're doing these number measurements, this is like a combined number. It's not necessarily a 31 and a 3. Maybe in a rare occasion you could do something like that, but that's not how I do it. I'm very consistent. So this is 313. So you go here, you click numbers on top of the page, and you type in 313. And you get 65. That's the 65th prime number, 313. And recall how the Secretary of State was fired on the date 313. Secretary of State, 65 reduction. So the 65th prime number, and this was a game between the Chicago Blackhawks, 65, and the Winnipeg Jets, 65. And the name, was it? The name of the starting goalie, his name was Colin, 65. And he got injured and made way for Scott Foster, the emergency goalie, 65.
Jeez.
So, when I came along and said, when I came along and said that this eclipse is more important than we thought, then, this is no doubt what's going on, 100%. And, the first time I turned this into a kind of a successful prediction was leading up to these Austin bombings. Let's see. I made a lot of eclipse posts. So I said on February 25th, I think it was. Here it is. I made a post on February 25th, and I said that we would probably see a false flag on March 1st because of how many days it was until the next Great American Total Solar Eclipse. And going to the date calculator, March 1st, 2018. The next eclipse is on April 8th, 2024. So it was exactly 2,230 days. Again, that 223. The Hebrew word for the moon, 223. And 223 is like the ultimate eclipse number. And the reason I say that is because every 223 lunar phases is when we get a solar or lunar eclipse of the same cycle. And again, the moon in Hebrew is 223. So that's how many days till the next eclipse it was. That was March 1st. Now, when you're measuring dates to date, we've found that when you include the end date, that's also significant. So, for someone new, they could say, oh, you're playing with numbers. It's not, you don't get that much flexibility, right? You just can add one. So if you do that, you go to March 2nd. This was the date that the Austin bombing started. In Austin, Texas, we had the first bomb on the date 3/2. And that total solar eclipse in Austin, Texas, look at that. The path of totality passes right over the city of Austin. So here I'm saying we're going to have an eclipse-related ritual on this date, or more importantly, related to this measurement, to the number of days to the eclipse. Because what I failed to do when I looked at this date was measure to Freemasonry's birthday, which is June 24th. And when you do that, you get, not including the end date, you get 3 months, 22 days. So you have 223 sequences in these measurements. And that's the types of things that they're looking for. And no better example about solar eclipses being the ultimate marker of time than September 11th. The September 11th attacks happened exactly 13 years to the day after a solar eclipse. That was on 9/11/1988. And from 9/11 to 9/11/2001, well, 156 months is important, but it was exactly 13 years. And then there was another solar eclipse in the year 2007, which was exactly 6 years after 9/11. And
Wow.
those two eclipses on September 11th, 1988 and September 11th, 2007 are exactly 19 years apart. And 19 years is the length of a metonic cycle. So I mentioned the Saros cycle, 223. Well, the metonic cycle is 235. Those are two very significant moon numbers. And a metonic cycle is exactly 19 years, which syncs up with 235 lunar phases. So the fact that September 11th occurred right in the middle of that pocket, not in the middle, but 6 years before one, 13 years after the other, 13, the sixth prime number, there's a lot of significance to that. So once you realize that the occult is completely taking the dates of total solar eclipses in mind when they're planning out their rituals, that's going to give you your best indicator as far as when our things are going to happen. In addition to that, always pay attention to what dates the officials in that city and or state took office. And here's why. And I didn't even catch this in my video on Austin, Texas, but here I'm saying the whole video, I was saying this is a tribute to the 2024 eclipse. You know, I mean, it was 6 months, 9 days after this eclipse.
Yep.
I could get into the details here. I'll just put the slide up, but it's all about this 2024 eclipse. And what I never even did in the video was measure to the governor of Texas's birthday, Greg Abbott, November 13th, 1957. So check this out, right? The first bombing was on March 2nd, 2018. And if you punch in this dude's birthday, look how many days old he was. 22,224. Look at that. There's a 2024 in his age.
Wow. That's
so
wild.
Wow, right? I mean, what are the odds of that? I mean, it's like literally 1 in 10,000 that number sequence would be in there. So, you know, again, I'm using the same techniques. You're just measuring from day to day, and then you're using simple gematria. And that 40-minute video I put out on the Austin bombings, personally, I probably spent more time researching that and putting that together than, you know, it was right up there with my 9/11 video, honestly. And honestly, it takes more date-to-date measurements than gematria just about. And all the gematria that I talk about in that video is in these 6 ciphers here, with a couple of exceptions. But, you know, I'm trying to keep it simple so that people can see how simple this is. And it's just these same techniques every time. And everything you look at, you always find what's going on. So, and I didn't even put that in the video because I never measured. But, you know, we had the mayor of Austin, Steve Adler, who's the lawyer, mayor of Austin right there. He was born on March 23rd, 56. 3/23/56 to March 2nd is exactly 3,232 weeks. 3232, like the date, March 2nd. But what's so big about 32 is using the alphabetic order, bomb equals 32. So, yeah, I mean, this is what's happening. And that's not, I mean, that was interesting enough, but there were so many more 32s with this stupid ritual. I filled up like 2 slides, just jam-packed. You had, oh boy, there were 30 full slides that I didn't even put in the video, by the way.
Jeez.
So the first bomb went off on 3/2, killing a man named House, whose name sums to 32. The last bomb was on the date 3/20. And remember, they were both at FedEx. FedEx equals 320. And on that same date, we had a shooting at Great Mills High School. Great Mills High School, 320. On that date, there was a school shooting And the shooter was named Austin Wyatt Rollins, which is 3 professional WWE wrestlers, all of them former champions. Steve Austin, you know, think about the mayor named Steve, mayor of Austin. And then you got Stone Cold Steve Austin, born on a date with 32 numerology, 320 days after the 32nd day of the year when Ronda Rousey was born. And then you had Daniel Bryan come back. He made his return to wrestling that night. He was 302 days after his birthday, and he took a move called a power bomb on the apron. So there's so much more about it. Oh, and the day the bomber died was 30 weeks and 2 days after the eclipse. 32. So, you know, I hate to beat this horse. Like, I did 3 videos on this, and then I did 2, and then I spent a whole ton of time, just a shit ton of time on that last video. And to me, this is just like the ultimate proof of what I've been saying this whole time, and it incorporates pro wrestling. I grew up a pro wrestling fan. I've actually taken more power bombs than anyone you'll probably ever meet. Through tables. I
don't even know what a power bomb is.
You want to see me take a power bomb? Here, it's on YouTube.
Woohoo! Sure.
This was I don't even know if I can find it. Jeez. No, I don't even know how to find this video, to be honest.
Oh, that's all right.
We can watch Daniel Bryan take the power bomb, though.
Okay.
So what happened?
Yeah, because I'm about as into sports as a snail or something.
Yeah, I mean, I'm like really against sports, you know, because I used to love them, and then I'm like, oh crap, they're fake, and I was getting suspicious even before I found numerology, and then this all cemented it for me. Yeah. Here you have an episode of SmackDown. Here it is, March 20th, 3/20. See that? That's the day that it was the day of the last Austin bombing. They had the high school shooting that day. And it was the day before the guy died. And here you go. There's your power bomb.
Oh, okay. Wow.
So, like, this code, I mean, here you have these goons, these absolute fools who are running entertainment. They think they're so funny. They think they're so smart. They're mocking the public every day, you know, basically just telling them that they're being mocked through the numbers, and nobody has a clue. And finally, like I said, we figured this out. I mean, I don't think, well, honestly, I myself have not gotten to the bottom of this ritual. Like, I found myself looking at dates again the other day, and I saw more numbers where I was like, man, I can't believe I didn't put that in the video. But, you know, honestly, it's like, what more do you need to show people? You know, it's just these basic things that should really add up after a while.
Yeah, you start realizing that there is no way that could just statistically happen that way organically. You know, right. It is totally inorganic. Ergo, somebody is creating it.
Right. And it's like, you know, this is what drives me nuts about people. And this was actually a conversation I had with my brother just a couple weeks ago before I made our little discovery, which I'll talk about. Let me take the screen off here. Let's see if I can do that. There we go. So I was talking to my brother about this, like showing him all this stuff about Marjorie Stoneman. So, you know, the Marjorie Stoneman Douglas shooting, you know, maybe I should have kept my screen on.
Well, you can put it back on. That's not a problem.
Let's do that. And sorry to everybody if I'm going like a million miles per hour, but like seriously, this is my favorite hoax of all time. Not the Stoneman Douglas shooting, but the Austin bombings mixed in with WWE. That is absolutely my new favorite hoax of all time. I was just so psyched that they did this, and like I said, I spent way too much time on it. Anyway, so let's take a look at the Marjorie Stoneman Douglas shooting, because that's significant. You know, the guy who gave Daniel Bryan that power bomb, right?
Right.
His name was Kevin Owens, and there was a wrestler named Owen Hart who died. And Kevin Owens and Owen Hart have the exact same birthday. And, well, not the same day, not the same year, but the same date of May 7th.
Same month, same day of the month.
Right. And their birthdays are 19 years apart. And like I mentioned, you know, you have the 19-year Metonic cycle.
There's your 19. Yep.
I have a crafty PowerPoint file that's good for webcasts like this too. So let's see. Talking about 190, 19, Saturn and the Moon. Here we go. Anita Sideris. So I'll just keep this on the screen instead while I'm talking about it. So yeah, it's a period of 19 years and 235 lunations, which are lunar months, you know, synodic months. And this is where the gematria of words like time and light come from. You know, if you add 19 years to 235 lunations, you add these two numbers, you get 254. And of course, in English gematria, the word time, as you can see from this chart, sums to 254. So does the word light, 254. These are both 144 in Jewish also, but I won't mention that. So yeah, this 19-year cycle is called Anita Sideris. And what's cool about this is the Francis Bacon gematria. So what Francis Bacon is, you can see on this screen, it takes capital letters into account. Small letters 1 through 26, capital letters 27 through 52. And again, to a newcomer coming into the study, it's like, how many ciphers do you need, dude? Well, again, these are, you know, giving us numbers in different ranges. And plus, what I like to, you know, push onto people is how logical these ciphers are. 1 through 26, 27 through 52, small and capital. It makes a lot of sense. Well, in this cipher, Anita Sideris, the English spelling, sums to 154. And if you write out 19 years, that equals 154. And there's so many things like this in our language. We'll talk about more, but so yeah, it's your period of 19 years, very significant. Well, 19 years to the day before the Marjorie Stoneman Douglas High School shooting, there was a WWF pay-per-view called St. Valentine's Day Massacre. And it makes you wonder, right? I mean, what are the odds? What I want to know is where this event was. WWF St. Valentine's Day Massacre, because there's no way it was somewhere random and insignificant.
No doubt it was.
I bet it was in Pennsylvania. Memphis, Tennessee. Oh, it was in the Pyramid.
Ha!
Pyramid. See that? The venue of this event was the Pyramid. Okay. And look at the attendance, 19,000. Okay. Okay, WWF, I see what you did there.
19,000. I love it.
This was 19 years to the day before the Marjorie Stoneman Douglas shooting. And, you know, wow. You got Owen Hart, who died that year, 99. It was 99 days after. So, you know, what's going on with that? Is that a coincidence? I don't think so. And again, to the Stoneman Douglas shooting, 19 years. You got these two Owens guys, 19 years apart.
It's pretty amazing.
19, the 19th prime number is 67. And do you remember how old the shooter was at Stoneman Douglas, Amy?
Wasn't he 19?
He was 19.
Yeah.
And his name was Nicholas Cruz.
At least I guess that's the last name they gave him. Wasn't he given several middle names differing?
He was. And I found the gematria of each of the names they gave us to be significant. The first thing I want to point out before I talk about those is Nicholas Cruz itself. Look at this, 1003. All right. I always say the common hoax codes are 13 and 33. And in numerology, these zeros are ignored. In the result of a number, the zero might as well not exist. So this reflects a 13.
Yep.
And, you know, think about, you know, we had Sandy Hook. We had a big shooting at Sandy Hook, 1003. Who was the The first victim of the Austin bombings was named Anthony Stephen House, 1300. That same day, we had that Great Mills High School shooting, the same day as the last Austin bombing. And that guy's name was Deputy Blaine Gaskill, 1003.
Wow.
Think about World Trade Center. World Trade Center, 1003, WTC. So, I mean, this is just something you see all the time, and it's just exhausting. Nicholas D. Jesus Cruz was the first one they gave us.
Right.
And here's that 254. Remember, we just talked about this. 19 plus 235 is 254. That's the 19-year Metonic cycle. So, boom, right off the bat, you have a number relating to exactly what I'm talking about. Not only that, but the 232, that's the gematria of Satan. Satan is 232. They love that number.
Yeah.
So then they gave us the middle name Jacob. And what's significant about Jacob is that it has gematria of 13 reduction and 31 ordinal.
1331.
1331. This is a number that represents a total solar eclipse. If you layer the numbers 133, see how that equals 1331, and 331, you know, they both sum to 1331 in gematria. And then if you type out 1331 eclipse, it sums to 1331.
Wow.
And
it's amazing.
Oh, you think that's amazing? You think that's amazing? Look at this.
Well, I mean, I think it's amazing they do it.
I've never seen a total eclipse that never touched the water. This is the only eclipse I've ever seen that is all land. Look at this. Wow. It even dodges lakes. Well, you know, okay, a big lake there, right? But there's no ocean, no giant seas, none of that. It's all land. I've never seen that. And look at the date, November 30th. See that, 1130? November 30th is the only date that sums to 1331.
Wow.
So, and this
blows your mind. Blows your mind, I tell you.
This is 11 cubed. See that? 11, 11, 11. If you add 11 plus 11 plus 11, you get 33. So, yep. 33 is significant. 1331 is even more significant. And YouTuber Lambda 115, he loves this number too. He's been finding it all over the place, and yeah, it's astonishing. I know he has more examples. I can't think of any more off the top of my head, but
speaking of him, I went to, you know, he put up a couple vids earlier today, and then when I went to them, it said it had been they'd been removed by the users. So I went to his channel, and he has no vids up. So I don't know what's going on with him, but maybe he got a strike and was trying to protect his channel. I just know it doesn't seem to be of any help taking your videos, even removing them. Aaron got his second strike from a video he had up only for a few hours, and then he took it completely down. And they still gave him a strike like a month later. Or maybe it was 2 months, somewhere between a month and 2 months later. They gave him a strike on a video that he only had up for a few hours and pulled down, took off the web. I mean, he didn't even just put it on private. He got rid of it. He deleted it. And he still got a strike.
Yep.
So, you know, whether if you put up anything, whether or not, you know, if they feel they want to mess with you, they will mess with you. So
seems that way.
Yep.
What we kind of figured out, I think, is that if someone reported the video before you took it down, they can still strike your channel.
Well, that's kind of weird, but nope. Okay.
I mean, that happened to Blackstone Intelligence when his channel got originally taken down. He ended up getting his back, which is cool, but
wow.
Yeah. Pretty rare. I'm trying to, I keep sending him gematria stuff, but no one wants to show gematria. And it's like the realest thing. It's the most obvious thing that's going on, and it feels like pulling teeth trying to get people to share it. I don't understand. So where was I going with this? We were talking about Stoneman Douglas and those 13s.
Yeah.
Those pesky 13s.
I'm sorry I interrupted.
Oh no problem. Got to fill the time. I had to take a sip of water. Like I said, I've been going 100 miles an hour. So
Well,
Marjorie Stoneman. So this is the woman who the school was named after. Marjorie Stoneman Douglas. Her birth name was Marjorie Stoneman. You know, the Douglas was her married name, I guess. And, you know, let's look at her Jewish gematria. I think, to me, I mean, Jewish gematria is a little bit more significant than English. They're both pretty close, but there's something fabulously magical about this Jewish cipher, which is based on the original Latin alphabet. Here's a look at it. It's got the more modern letters at the end. These letters were not in Latin. Actually, the letter V was in Latin, but it was a vowel. Now it's a consonant. So
right, it was pronounced like we pronounce the letter U.
Correct. So this cipher, like I said, you just saw those 1331 lineups in there. I mean, there's something definitely magical about it. Well, Marjorie Stoneman equals 1597, and all you have to do is click the number, and what stands out? It's the 17th Fibonacci number. And I mean, Fibonacci numbers are the most significant numbers of all, and it's just that there's so few of them that are in a reasonable range. So look at that, the 17th Fibonacci number. How many people died in the shooting? I think it was 17. And you know, the word kill equals 17 in gematria. The shooter at Great Mills High School was 17 years old. It's like you almost never see an 18-year-old shooter or a 16-year-old shooter. We got 17 and 19. I don't know.
Yep.
Anyway, so you know, this is one of the more coded events that I can recall. And what was really fascinating about Stoneman Douglas High School, you know, in the year 2016, that was the same year the Cubs won the World Series. The Cubs broke a 108-year curse, beating the Cleveland Indians. And it just so happens that Stoneman Douglas High School won the National Baseball Team of the Year. And think about how many high schools there are, right? There's like 20-some thousand, right? I forget the numbers, but it's a lot of high schools. And out of all of those high schools, Stoneman Douglas won the National Team of the Year the same year the Cubs did. So that alone is pretty significant.
Mm-hmm.
Now, there's less than a 0.5% chance that any one of the Chicago Cubs would have gone to Marjorie Stoneman Douglas High School. Now, granted, a school that produces a national baseball championship team is going to produce some good good baseball players.
Right.
So the odds are going to be a little bit higher, you know, tops 1% maybe that one of these guys went there. Because in reality, it's closer to a 0.25% if you just run the raw numbers. But it wasn't just any player. It was Anthony Rizzo. And what's so significant about Anthony Rizzo is, let's watch the Cubs actually win the World Series, right? Oh, no. I don't want to give anyone free advertisement.
Yeah, really.
So this was 6 months, 7 days after Anthony Rizzo's birthday, and that's the 19th prime number. Nicholas Cruz equals 6, 7. And look at this. Boom, there's the end of the World Series. That's Anthony Rizzo. That's the guy right there, Anthony Rizzo. The game ended with the ball in his glove. As far as this score, 8-7, the 8-7 here, when you write out 666, it sums to 87. And when you multiply 6 times 6 times 6, it's 216. And this was the 2016 World Series. So hopefully that clears that up for some people as far as why that happened.
Yep.
And while we're on the topic of this game, get this. This is insane what happened. I don't know if you saw this, Amy, but this is so bizarre. So I told you this whole game was about 666, right?
Right.
Check this out. You have David Ross, number 3, okay? And look at the box score down here. You have Chicago with 6 runs. It's in the top of the 6th inning. The pitcher's got 30 pitches, so that's a 3. And then Cleveland has 3 runs. So right here you have a 6, 6, and then a 6. And then you have this guy, David Ross, number 3. But what's interesting about him, see, oh, I gotta. The name David Ross in Sumerian gematria equals 666. And he's the only player on the field to have that gematria, by the way. I ran the gematria on everybody. He's the only guy to have 666 in his name using any of those basic ciphers.
Wow.
And look at this shit they do. Boom. Look at they do dick bumps throughout the whole dugout, and the cameraman's ready for it. He's going to capture every single dick bump on camera. He's going to make sure every time these fucking queers bump dicks with each other. Look at that. What are they doing? This is what sports are, ladies and gentlemen. They are a satanic ritual. What you're witnessing is a gay sex 666 public ritual. It's disgusting. These Satanists are running the world. They're scripting the sports by the numbers so they can do their little fancy tricks and dupe the masses. And how many people would have caught that? You know what I mean? The clear as day 666 bullshit going on.
Right.
No,
not enough people. That's the answer.
Not enough people, and not enough people sharing gematria. Because look at this, right? Now remember, that game went past midnight. It went really late. There was a rain delay, and it was a 17-minute rain delay, reversing the 71-year curse. You reverse a 71, you get 17. And remember, I said number 17. Well, it was number 17. I'm going to have to watch another advertisement. No. Anyways, it was number 17 who threw the ball to Anthony Rizzo. Anyway, so the game ended on November 3rd, 2016. It went past midnight. Started on November 2nd, like 1-1-2. It was the 112th World Series.
Right.
So the game ended on 11-3. Now, measure to the Stoneman Douglas shooting, right?
Mm-hmm.
66 weeks and 6 days between the date that they won the World Series and the Marjorie Stoneman Douglas shooting. And come on, Anthony Rizzo, the guy who ended, went to the fucking high school. And then, you know, but like I said, if you include the end date or if you measure to the day that the game started, it was 67 weeks.
I could point out also that if it ended on 11-3, you have your 113 code.
Yeah, and 113 is like the ultimate lie number.
Yep.
And the reason I say that is quite simple. So the number 113 in these ordinal ciphers, I love it. I love that politics equals 113, by the way. That's one of my favorites. Not honest, 113. Dishonest, 113, alphabetic order. Green screen, they like to use that. That's a big tool of the mainstream. Mainstream 113. Wow. And you have words like bullshit. Bullshit's 113 in the reverse order. Perjury, 113. That's lying in court. Infidelity, lying to your spouse, 113. Clearly a number that's been coded into the language. And what's so funny about this is, well, here's your 113s right there. And look at this. Stoneman Douglas High School, 113. Stoneman Douglas Eagles. They were the Eagles. Their mascot was the Eagles, the team that just won the Super Bowl, 113. Yep. And then, no, it's there was one more. Eagles. The Eagles equals 113. And I mean, it just doesn't get much more clear. And not only did Marjorie Stoneman Douglas Eagles, not only did they win, but look at their logo. That's the same as the Philadelphia Eagles. It's not just that they share the nickname. They're actually using the Philadelphia Eagle. And here's something I want to point out. This is a really astute observation, and it's not my observation. This actually came from an article writer for ESPN who does weekly football articles. He jokes and he calls the Eagles the Nesharim. And the reason he calls them the Nesharim is because that's the Hebrew word for eagles. And the Eagles are the only logo in the NFL that faces leftward. Every single logo, all the animal logos, all the faces, they all face to the right, as if they're looking to the right. Meanwhile, the eagle is the only logo that looks to the left. And how appropriate is it that the city of Philadelphia, and by the way, of course, Philadelphia has our magical 223 number in the reverse alphabetic order.
Mm-hmm.
It just so happens that, you know, they share this logo. And Marjorie Stoneman Douglas is a highly Jewish high school. As a matter of fact, one of the fake witnesses who says that her friend was shot and killed right in front of her,
Right.
smiling during the interview. You know, that's one of the reasons they took my video on YouTube down, because of interviewers interviewees who could not keep from laughing when talking about their dead friends.
Yes.
It's so disgusting to watch. But she said that she was in Holocaust class when it happened. So Marjorie Stoneman Douglas has a Holocaust class. Think about that. Are you kidding me? Wow. Yeah, wow is right. Now, there's a wrestler named Mark Henry. Mark Henry equals 113. And here he is saying that he knew a victim of the Austin bomber. And he's like, yeah, I knew him. He was so full of life. Well, I think Mark Henry is so full of shit.
Yes.
Like, they even used Mark Henry. They had him lie by the numbers on wrestling once. So in the language of Gematria, fake retirement speech equals 647. And this is a big no-no in the wrestling business. And the reason that is because if a wrestler is really retiring, then, you know, he's going to give a speech to the fans, and they want it to be legit. They want it to have emotion. They want the fans to really, you know, they want it to be a sacred moment. So to have a wrestler come out and fake a retirement speech is like, you just don't do that. You don't do that, because now every time someone comes out there and retires, the fans don't think it's real.
Right.
It's a bunch of crap. So this is something that you shouldn't do. And, well, Mark Henry, of all people, was the guy who did it. So he came out here, and look at this. He's crying. He's doing a really good job. He's got tears streaming down his face. He's being super emotional. And then
I have a question. Does he really have tears, or is that something that they managed to rig for his performance?
that's a good question. You know, I think he was, you know what? I think he was probably crying. And because I've seen that enough times where they try to be emotional and they can't pull it off.
Right.
So I don't know. Maybe he did, but
it's hard to tell. I mean,
but even if you're faking it, you're still getting the warm reception from the people. You're still getting their love. They're standing for you. He's never had a standing ovation before. Mark Henry? Come on. This is the most love he's ever gotten. So I think he's really crying. But yeah, here he comes. Even John Cena comes out and kind of gives him the WWE title, and then he slams him. He slams him. What the hell? The crowd loved it. They went crazy. But Amy, look at what episode of Raw this is. It's 1047, and it's all about time. And 10 hours and 47 minutes is 647 minutes.
Gotcha.
Fake retirement speech equals 647 in the language of Gematria. And I just knew there was something to this, because the number 147 is a Masonic number. Freemason equals 147. in the reverse order. So does conspiracy. So does knowledge.
Wow.
So does numerical. 147. Knowing about numerics is knowledge, and numbers prove it. And here, I'm a guy named Derek. My name is 92. I'm trying to teach you about numbers. 92.
Wow.
This is the language of Gematria, which is 142. My name is Derek Tikkuri. It's 142. This is all organic numerology that we're talking about right here. And what's so alarming about the fact that my name matches Gematria in reverse Gematria is that my full name, Derek Michael J. Tikkuri, 1198, that's the same as reverse Gematria, 1198. And it was my calculator that started the study of reverse Gematria. And Amy, I'm just a guy with a normal job who was just raised and just got into Gematria before I knew about any of this at all. I knew none of it. So this is the organic part of it, right? And let me share something with you guys that I think is very fascinating, because here I've been spending, the majority of my past year and a half now almost trying to teach the world about the language of Gematria. And one of the things that involves is exposing the practices of Freemasonry, which at the high levels practices the language of Gematria and uses it to code their hoaxes, uses it to, plan their events out. And, so that's been a focus of mine, is trying to expose what they're doing and showing what they really are. And, it's difficult, because what sucks about that is that there are so many Freemasons who are just doing good, who are just, trying to get some brotherhood and helping the community. And, there's so many of those people.
Right.
And they all reach out to you and they say, hey, that's not what Freemasonry is. But, actually a lot fewer reach out to you than you would think, because I think a lot of them know that something's going on up top. Well, it just so happens, Amy, that I discovered last week, Friday, a week ago, that my brother is a Freemason, my oldest brother. And it just so happens that he turned 47 earlier this month. And of course, 47, one of the more significant numbers to Freemasonry.
Yep.
In fact, let me just pull up the slide on that. There's 47 degrees on the Freemason compass, foundation, framework. They've set up our government with two parties, 47, White House, Republican, Democrat. It's pretty obvious this is a big number. So my brother turns 47, and then I learned he became a Freemason. And what I think, this is kind of what I'm wondering. My brother has been sort of walking me in the direction away from conspiracy my whole life. He told me 9/11 was a coincidence, and he asked me how much money these people are making from these 9/11 documentaries, things like that. And he's always been a globalist, one for global government. And I'm wondering if he's been a Freemason for many, many years, and it just so happens that he revealed himself at 47. And that's a pretty interesting thing to say. And if my brother sees this one day, that'll cause some interesting rifts in the family. But
probably.
But hey, I understand that these people take an oath. They take a blood oath. They swear that they will agree to getting choked out by their own intestines if they spill the secrets of the Brotherhood. So the fact that I'm his half brother by blood means jack shit as far as I'm concerned. If he's taking oaths like that, that means he's got ulterior motives, and I don't give a fuck about that. I'm here for the truth. And people who are hiding the truth and think they're doing it for the greater good are full of shit. So if this pits brother against brother, ideologically, we will never come to blows. We'll never fight with one another. We can disagree about things, and you know what? If at a family function, we both know about each other, it'll never even come up in discussion. I guarantee you.
True.
Because we both know what paths we're walking. And the other can't change that. So anyways, Amy, get this. This is so crazy. This is what I didn't spill to you when I first joined. Last Friday, I looked at my age. Sorry.
You okay there?
Yeah. Yeah.
Love always. Love always.
Look, okay. All right. I'm trying to keep my composure because this is just, it's just amazing. So I shared with you my name, how it ties into reverse gematria. When I found out my brother was a Freemason, this is how old I was. I was 11,980 days old. And look at this. Look at this. The word Mason equals 73. And look how many days before my birthday it was.
Wow. Maybe they deliberately, because they knew you were doing this work, they sent him in.
Okay, no, but listen to this. And I'm really glad you brought that up, Amy. I'm so glad you brought that up because it wasn't my brother who told me. It was I found out because the reason I found out is because he did not show up to my brother's party that night. I went to my brother Dan's house, the youngest of my three brothers, and he didn't show up. And someone asked where he was. I didn't even ask where he was. Someone else did. And my brother Dan said, "Hey, he's at the Masons Lodge. He's got a meeting tonight." And I had the sickest feeling in the pit of my stomach. It's like,
oh, I bet
it was like it's like an ex-girlfriend that that you still love, that you found out is sleeping with. Like, it really stung because I've had that feeling before. Not exactly, but it's along the same lines. Like, it hurt.
Yes.
And I just knew. I was like, dang. And then you realize that these important life events and revelations and discoveries, these are all coded events. And look at how intricate what I revealed about that Chicago Blackhawks goalie was, and this Austin bombing ritual. I've been asking for signs lately, trying to figure out what's natural, what's organic, what's going on, and then shit like this happens to me, right? And
yeah.
Now that doesn't mean they're not faking news stories, because they are, because they know about this. The powers that be know about this. This is occulted, hidden knowledge that people are not supposed to know about. And look, I'm not one for keeping secrets and secret societies, but I understand why some people are not allowed to get knowledge like this, because they don't understand it and they take it the wrong direction and whatnot. But we're in this coded matrix, and everything that happens to us is injected by some sort of code. So one thing I wanted to bring up is there was this guy who was speaking. Can you hear the audio on my computer?
Sort of.
All right. Anyway.
I'm just going to say I'm having difficulties because all of a sudden, after all this time, suddenly my CPU has decided to do what it's been doing for past shows, going to 100%, and then I cut out and can't hear everything that's coming across. So I apologize for that.
Okay.
But it looks like maybe it's settling down again. I don't know why it went almost an hour without any problem, and then suddenly it decided to go into conniptions. Anyway, what did you want to show?
Well, can you hear? Okay, I'm going to ask again if you can hear the audio from my computer. No,
just
you can't.
Barely.
Never barely. Anyways, what this guy is saying is that, let's say you were to go out and chase your dreams, follow your dreams, or whatever, and what this is all about is like, if you will chase your dreams will chase you, so to speak. And he talks about how these things happen, and he's saying that, look, the universe will help you out when you try to do things, when you try to accomplish and help people. And what I realized, part of what I'm doing here is trying to prove to people that what he's saying is correct. So things that happen in our lives, whether you call them miracles or whatever, these happen by a code, and we can read that code through gematria. And I don't even know if I would have said that like a couple hours ago. I mean, I've kind of been hinting at it in my videos, but you know, this whole thing with my brother, that, I mean, it's always by the numbers. It's crazy. And I've done work on this before, but so one example, and I think Desi's watching, but you know, I reached out to somebody about the planet Saturn. I hate to use this example again, but it's just such a good example, and it's a perfect example of what I'm talking about. You know, when I first got into this research and I started seeking people out to work with and share info with and collaborate with, and I just typed in like Saturn or Cassini bullshit into Google, and I got this guy Desi, his blog, and you know, I forget if he changed his name to this, but Desi XI is 93, right? Just like Saturn. And it turns out that his birthday is 93 days after mine, and he was born 9 years, 3 months after me. So not only is there one 93 connection, but there's two 93 connections. And this is exactly what I'm talking about, is that if you go out and chase your dreams and work and put your energy into it and really want it and really go for it, this is how the universe helps you out. It'll give you people. And if you're smart about it and you know about numerology and this matrix that we're in, that they've, you know, the elite has been trying to hint us into the fact that we are in a matrix for many years. The movie should be one clue. This is what's happening. When you reach out,
right,
you know, you'll meet people who are, you know, you decode that meeting after it happens and you'll realize, whoa, this is going on. And now I haven't gotten to a point where I'm like, oh, I'm going to code your name before I meet you to see if we can work well together. I don't know. I don't think that's how this works. I don't think we're to be making the decisions. I don't know. This is all new to me. So, something seems to be happening by a code, though.
Yep.
I think if people understood that this was real and started paying more attention to it, because the people who do understand it's real do pay attention to it, and their minds get blown immediately. You look at a channel like Dan Barrett, and you know what? I can only imagine how crazy someone who might see his videos for the first time might think he is, because he's talking about literally using this code to save lives. And this was a concept introduced by a television show named Touch. This came out several years ago. It had Kiefer Sutherland in that show, and it was about a boy who was seeing the number 318. I only saw the pilot episode. Maybe I should watch more. I don't like television. I don't like watching shows, and he ends up using this code. He ends up being able to recognize enough where he winds up saving a life at the end because he knows where and when something is going to occur. And, you know, for instance, in the state of Iowa, where Dan lives, I think it was in the same city that one of his sisters lives in or something, who drowned in a lake. And Dan looked at this story and he's like, oh my God, this is connected to Super Bowl 52. And I can only imagine how crazy someone thinks that is when they first come into the video and say, what is this guy on? What is he smoking? What drugs is he doing? He's not actually doing any drugs. He's just been focusing on this for a long time. And he realized that this is how it works. And he talks about all these numbers that lined up with, let me pull up his blog and just see, but he was decoding this story, and what blew my mind about it is that several years earlier, someone else died in that same river or in the same pond, and that person's last name was Eagletail. And I was like, what? I mean, are people like, what is going on, you know? I gotta find this.
Are you going to be sharing your screen there?
If I can find it. I was probably just gonna say what I found or what he found. You know, we had on New Year's, I remember at the party, I kind of had this epiphany that this was going to be the year of the organic matrix. And I never really followed through so much on that. I did do some posts on the organic matrix and my numerology with my family and, you know, the couple of things that have happened to me by the numbers. But, you know, there's, what sucks about it is that, like, you know, they're using this code, like I said, to fabricate news stories. And the reason we know they're fabricated is because there's never any evidence. And there's always a drill. And there's always, you know, the right people that are saying the right things. So we know that that's happening, but I think it's because they're using this code that it's working to an extent.
It may be. I've thought of that myself.
Yeah. I cannot find this post. This is what I like about my blog, is that I have all the stories like linked out, you know, just a list of links.
Right. That's helpful.
Yeah, I can't find this. I'll skip it for now. But
speaking of 47,
yeah,
I think I've mentioned this to you, but I'll put it out there for everybody that's listening. Many years ago, a very good friend of mine suggested the name Amaterasu. And for a long time on the web, I went by Amaterasu. And one day I was trying to contact somebody, you know, to discuss the ideas that I'm bringing forth. And I couldn't go any further to contact them without filling in a last name. So I don't know why Solar popped into my head, but it did. So I put that in there. And so I've been Amaterasu Solar ever since. And I was floored when I went in and ran that and saw the 47. I went foundation. Let's see what there was another one.
Framework.
At any rate, framework. That's what I'm trying to give the world, is a foundation our society on that will allow a completely free and healthy society to emerge, not like this crazy, oppressive, tyrannical
right
thing that's taking planet.
Yeah, we don't deserve it.
I just thought
and it's so bad. I mean, you know, I'm in a very, very fortunate spot in my life, especially right now. And I'm trying to use this time in a positive manner to help people see what's going on in this world. You know, because not everybody has the skills and talents that I have, and I try to make sure that I put them to good use so people can benefit from them. And I say that because, well, I forgot why I said it. What I wanted to point out, if you could make my screen full size. I just started sharing.
Oh, let me set you up. Hold on. My computer is
my
slow.
Thing,
they're really messing with me.
Yeah, probably, because this is a kick-ass show, so that'll happen. But
well, they, you know, the fact that I had no problems, nothing changed here until, you know, I mean, I didn't do anything differently on my computer, and then suddenly my CPU usage is pegging at 100, and sometimes I don't hear everything you're saying, and sometimes people can't hear what I'm saying.
Well, okay. Your audio for me has been really good, but I don't know if that's just through the Hangouts or what.
Okay, well, that's good to know that it's coming through at any rate. Past shows, I've had problems where nobody could hear what I was saying. So it's good to know that it hasn't gotten that bad so far.
All right.
Okay, I have you highlighted.
All right, cool. What kills me about your name is that it's 1019 English extended, like 119.
Yes, and I saw that too.
All-seeing eye. You know.
Oh my gosh. Well, people have looked at my eye and thought that's what it was.
Sure. Well, if they're running the gematria, they're probably thinking the same thing if they're astute.
Yes. And
But
I have explained that what that is it's an image that I painted in Photoshop 20 years ago, maybe more, long before I had any clue about any esoteric stuff.
right.
I wasn't even anywhere near that neighborhood. And the full graphic tiles so that it doesn't look like pieces. It's just all one big picture when you put it together.
Uh-huh.
And what it is the eye of consciousness. And it represents every conscious and aware being in this universe. And the tiling creates the field of consciousness. And on Twitter, if you look at my logo thingy on Twitter, it says looking right back at the eye of Horus.
Nice.
So yeah, that's what my eye is. And I got some flack. One of the people I subscribe to put out a video trying to make a claim that I'm some kind of a shill because I've got the female anonymous thing in my logo. Well, I had to explain that when Anonymous first hit, nobody knew that it was, questionable in its origin. And I was really like, oh, cool, there are people who are actually going to make the world better and awesome. And they were saying anybody could be anonymous. And I went, anybody? Awesome. I've got some ideas to spread, and I think that'll enhance people looking at it. So I put that into my entire makeup too for that reason. And then it was only later that I discovered that maybe it wasn't what we were told it was initially. So
yeah, this 119 number, what I've come to discover is how related to Saturn it is. And think about what we call Saturn the all-seeing eye. And when Saturn's at a certain angle, in relation to where the Earth is and where it is in its orbit, it looks like an eyeball. I mean, it has that look to it. It's got the circle with the eyeball. It's an all-seeing eye.
Yep.
Well, tracing back to Hebrew gematria, in the ancient Hebrew language, the original cipher or one of the original ciphers, the planet Saturn sums to 713, and this factors down to the 11th prime times the 9th prime. And, one might think that's a little coincidental or what have you. But, you realize how this is coded into the calendar and into the language. The 9th day of the 11th month on the Hebrew calendar is called Tisha B'Av, the 9th of Av, their day of mourning for the destruction of the two temples. Two temples, 500-600 years apart, destroyed on the exact same date. All right. It's always a coincidence in Jewish history.
just a coincidence.
It's just all the way back to the origins. It's just like, oh, these Smurfs. So Tisha B'Av in Jewish gematria sums to 911. And just to demonstrate that on the calculator, Tisha B'Av in, Jewish gematria sums to 911. Of course, that's the date where we had the destruction of the two temples. So Tisha B'Av, the 9th day of the 11th month. And the 9th day of the 11th month here is November 9th. And when you write out November 9th equals 1109, just like how it's written out, 119, 1109. And then you realize, too, that both of our flags have it. Star of David, 119. The Star Spangled Banner, 119.
Yep.
And with capital letters, Saturn equals 119. So clearly something going on with 119 there.
Yes, yes.
There's a lot
I
more,
think
but
I think Aaron would have some comments about the 119 or the 911 input. He's gotten into the um, astrotheology
uh-huh.
and points out that the there's something to do with the sun in Virgo on that date, and I really feel awful. I wish he was here to refresh my memory because I've forgotten the details. But
Mm-hmm.
I was fascinated that the both the sun and the moon make sort of an 88 in the sky through the year or the
Right.
month, depending. And it's the sun is right at that crux of the 8 that it makes on that date on
Oh,
9/11. So, and
okay.
it's in I know it's in Virgo, and I know there's more data that Aaron had picked up, and gosh, I miss him.
Yeah, it's not the same without him.
No, it isn't, because he has a lot of good data like that, you know.
Right.
But we do what we can with what we've got.
Sure. So you said that was the date, September 11th?
Yeah.
At that point? Okay.
See, there it is, near Virgo,
Sure.
and there's something about that position, and oh man,
All
but
right. I'll have to keep that in mind and pay attention to that.
yeah,
Because
well,
that's really interesting because
he
I know
did
what
go
you're talking
over he did go over some of that in the past show, but I forget now which one. My mind must be going. I tell you, I keep forgetting things these days. So
about. It's all good. So about that, I know I got a couple slides on that 88 thing. I have to pull it off my site. Where is it? Oh, that's the wrong one. Ah, this one here. So yeah,
right there you go.
so you're saying on 9/11 the sun is at the bottom? Wait, I'd have to figure that out. Either way.
Right where the two loops meet. I'm sorry,
Oh,
I thought I had unmuted my mic there.
so
Yeah,
okay, so
right there, where your arrow is almost. There you go, right in the middle. That's where the sun is on 9/11.
okay, that's really interesting. Huh. Well, because we were talking about 254 time
Mm-hmm.
equals 254. September 11th is the 254th day of the year.
Haha.
That's pretty cool. Yeah, interesting. Um, yeah, and this 88. I mean, it's so obvious. This is used to represent time, the passage of time, the infinity symbol.
Yep.
Um, for those of you who don't know, there's something called Kabbalah gematria, and we're still trying to pinpoint the exact significance about this, right? Like we're debating, when Kabbalah gematria was first used, if it's always been around in the language.
Right.
I personally believe it has, and I mean it's such a simple cipher. Like to anyone who sees this, they're thinking, "What the hell?" But all you're doing is going every 11 letters in the alphabet, and then you start over once you get to the end. You just add 11. So, A plus 11 is 12. Then you get the 12th letter L plus 11 is W. Then you reset the alphabet to H. So this is super simple. And one reason I mean, this is just such good evidence right here, right? United States of America, 314.
Haha.
And
That,
what's
that's
so
definitely familiar.
right. And if you put in the United States in Hebrew, and just to well, you can verify it a couple ways, but here, United States. In the Hebrew language, let's take out KFW. United States in Hebrew equals 1,314, right? And so it's not the same. You do have a 1 here, but consider that 1 is the next digit in pi after 314, right? So, 1314, it still hints at the circle. And if that's not enough for you, consider that the United States of America, and just to verify, we're taking this straight from here, right? The United States of America.
Mm-hmm.
Hebrew ordinal, where it's numbered 1 through 22, and then the suffix characters just take their normal form. United States of America equals 227.
And we know the relationship on that with 22 divided by 7 is 314.
I would think that's common knowledge, but I don't know who knows what. For those who don't know, this is like the go-to for evidence of gematria in English. It's all about the mathematics of the circle. 22 divided by 7 equals 314 in the alphabetic order, 3.14 on a calculator. You get 360 degrees. 360 equals 227. What do you know? And it's all about the mathematics of the circle. And in Jewish gematria, that's 666. 6 plus 6 plus 6 is the same as 9 plus 9. And 6 times 6 times 6 is 216. So 6 times 6 times 6, 216. Mathematics of the circle, 666, 216. This is what the language is built on. I mean, we just discovered this. We've been saying the language is built on the mathematics of the circle, and this is a relatively new discovery. So, I mean, this is the kind of thing that really just proves it, as far as I can tell. So you have 227 in the United States of America. Another cipher we use is prime numbers, and this is very logical as well. Just the alphabetic order, but instead of using 1 through 26, you're using the associated prime numbers. I've been talking about prime number relationships throughout the most of the show, so it's easy to see how this could be a fairly significant cipher.
Right. I found primes to be quite interesting in its results.
Absolutely. And case in point, United States of America. 722, just like the inverse of 227. And you have the pi, and in Hebrew you got the 1314. But it also gets interesting when you look at the gematria of total eclipse. We can find that. The Hebrew phrase for total eclipse, which translates literally to full eclipse, but total eclipse. So in Hebrew, it's 227.
Wow.
Just like the mathematics of the circle. It's pretty amazing. But what's interesting too is one variation of total solar eclipse. And this is when you're referring to a specific solar eclipse, you would say it this way. This is 119, like all-seeing eye. In this Kabbalah cipher, eclipse equals 119. So what I've found when I've been paying attention and studying this stuff is that there are significant synchronicities between the Kabbalah cipher and Hebrew. And it's not something I've really done a lot of research on and put work together on, but when I'm looking at Hebrew and in English, it's always sticks out that there's something there. So, it's just fascinating. I think even in using just the alphabetic order, though, there's enough interesting alignments. Like here, let me show you what else I found just the other day. Take some of these ciphers off.
I love it.
Take ALW out. Okay. So there's this cipher I just added to the calculator recently. reverse extended. And I've always known this was a cipher, but it wasn't on the site for a while just because it was a mess. Now, this is it's also a very logical cipher. I mean, we know reverse ordinal is legit. Reverse extended, it's the same concept. You're just applying the amplified numerology. So you know that there's something to this. Well, in Hebrew, when you type in Jesus, well, you have to be specific about it, Jesus Christ. And this takes us to the Jesus Wikipedia page. So we know this is our guy. The good guy, as I call him. And in Hebrew Gematria, his name is 316. And John 3:16, for God so loved the world, he gave his one and only son. That's probably the most popular Bible verse. So, 3:16, that's pretty cool. Well, in our Gematria, Jesus Christ in reverse extended equals 1316. So you have a 13 right there. So, yeah, exactly. Kind of interesting. But they also call him Yeshua. Yeshua 1316. And this all comes from the Hebrew name of God, which is Yad-He-Vav-He, or Yahweh.
Right.
Yahweh in Latin Gematria is 1316. So you get to a point where it's like, okay, this probably is not a coincidence, right? I mean, there is some intent.
Yes. Yep.
So no doubt there's alignments between Hebrew and English. It's not so obvious where you can just like line it up one after another and say, here, see, it's all the same. And it shouldn't be that obvious, right? It'd be too easy to figure out.
Yep. So
we have multiple ciphers, and it's unfortunate that we have multiple ciphers. But on the other hand, if we're wise about what we're doing and everything, and I've had debates with varying levels of heatedness with other people who are doing this work in Gematria, discussing what we should be sharing, which ciphers we should be using, what we should be talking about.
I think I know one, at least one of those heated exchanges.
Well, actually, if you're thinking about Zach, Zach and I have always been pretty cordial with one another. I think Zach has a lot of respect for what I've been able to bring to the table as far as the study's concerned. I mean, certainly, I don't think anyone else has stepped up to the extent I have as far as the study itself goes. So,
yeah, I was thinking more of the person that you made a special page for.
Oh yeah, I did make a special calculator.
That's the one.
And it's unfortunate. Unfortunate that we have to settle with this tomfoolery, but I actually made a joke calculator specific for Marty Leeds.
Yeah.
Where you can only use the septenary cipher because it's legitimate, and every other cipher is irrelevant. So even if you want to click it, you don't actually get to see it. It's his calculator
because it's irrelevant.
It's irrelevant. You don't get to see it. And you know how on my calculator I used to have groups. Right?
Yep.
Which I should add back, but I used to have groups. Well, this group is ciphers you should use, and it's septenary, so that's all you get.
Yep.
And this is an example of what I was talking about early on, is that here's a YouTuber who still has his channel. He's still doing his thing. There was a moment where he wasn't able to live stream. Because I called him out pretty harshly on one of my videos, and he didn't threaten legal action, but he did mention threatening legal action to me after I posted that video. And I never apologized. I never recanted anything. I didn't take anything down. I just decided to ignore him because he really doesn't deserve my time and attention. But hopefully people do understand that Marty Leeds is one of these characters. Marty Leeds is a character, a fictional entity that is online teaching half-truths, teaching partial truths. What I've been showing you throughout this video, if it's not been blowing your mind, then you need to have your mind checked, unless you already know about this stuff.
Right.
Prior to me sharing it. But I mean, this stuff is just amazing, and it's just so concrete. And you go to a Marty Leeds video, and he uses different little techniques every video. He likes to do things like, you got the number 10, and you have the number 16. So if you add the numbers 10 through 16, it sums to this. And then you divide it by 2, and you get it's like, no. You don't do shit like that. It's not that difficult.
Way too idiotic and convoluted. I agree.
Yeah. I mean, Marty leads in his cipher, sums to 38. Blue, the bluish.
Yes, our Smurf.
Our Smurf.
Smurfness.
You know, Jewish 38. I don't know. Maybe that's a coincidence, but yeah, whatever. You know, the fact is, you know, he's teaching silliness, and I'm sure he gets a kick out of how many comments he gets, like, you know, praising his work, and
yep.
Kind of silliness as far as I'm concerned. What we're unveiling is what we really shouldn't do. And all he ever said to me about my work, he never tried to disprove it or say anything about it, because obviously he knows it's legit. All he said was that I do not support what you are doing. He said, I do not support what you are doing. So, you know, it's clear whose side he's on. And just the fact that he threatened legal action, like, we're trying to kind of get rid of this legal system, you know, and mix things up a little bit. And he's to threaten someone who's trying to share the truth. Sorry, buddy. You know, we're exposing you is what was happening, and he didn't like it. Yep. And now you have this other video from this guy named what was it? Fucking like John Elias or something. You got to see this. This video actually made me laugh. Down off of YouTube and censor it, and they leave videos like this, and all of a sudden videos like this start popping up, right?
Right.
First of all, let's look at the upload date. Is that 1/19, January 19th? It is.
Yep.
1/19. And look at this guy. Look at these graphics. First of all, Amy, how kick-ass are these graphics? Like, I would love to have numbers like this floating around my head.
Yes.
Like, letters popping out of my ears. Like, what is this bullshit is what I want to know. That's because that's the first thing I'm thinking. When I see a production level like this, I see deception, I see lies, I see mind control, I see music used as means of controlling one's mind. I don't use music in my videos. You know, on my podcast, I have an intro song that I made, but I don't, you know, I don't mess around with that. So
yeah, I just use whatever music I like. You know, if I like it, I'll use it in my videos.
Sure. So can you hear the audio when I'm sharing this?
Not really. Unless you could put your speaker by your your mic by your speakers.
Is that not working?
That's a little better.
Well, I'll turn my monitor up. All right. So what I want to point out, let me go back to the beginning and just listen to what he says.
This is John Elias, and today I'll be talking about Gematria, what it is, and more importantly, what it isn't.
Okay, so this is what I'm saying, right? Again, my channel deleted. Channels like this start popping up. And granted, this guy's had a channel, but yeah, now he's talking about Gematria. And does this guy look bluish to you a little bit? I think he might be a blue. I don't know. He might be a Smurf. But well, hey, I'm part bluish myself. You know, my grandpa was a Smurf. So, you know, so this guy right off the bat, let me teach you what it is, but more importantly, what it isn't. You mean like the code that's used to map out our news stories? You know what I mean? Like, it's just interesting that that's the focus of this, apparently.
Stay tuned, and I'll be revealing at the end some never-before-seen secrets of theistic mathematics.
Ooh, yay! Never-before-seen secrets of theistic mathematics.
Right.
And he shows us the Star of David, whatever. He doesn't tell you that Israel equals 541, and 541 is the 10th star number. I bet he doesn't say that.
Probably not.
No, of course not. So it's just bizarre to me. You know, you get these nicely produced videos. There's obviously some work that's been put into it. There's been some very fine craft. And look at the description on this video. Look how long it is.
Wow.
Like, this person did this research. That person did this research. They're trying to look like as professional and intellectual as possible.
Yep.
And my only you know, again, I knew this was going to happen as soon as that calculator hit the internet, is that you were going to see numerology disinformation. You were going to start seeing people treating numerology as silly, making jokes about it, and then giving you false definitions because the cat's out of the bag. Like, this is legit, this is real. All they can hope to do now is muddy the waters and confuse people as to what it really is. Meanwhile, I'm showing shit like this, right? Okay, we had stock market, 666 drop, right? The Dow plunges 666 points. We know the market's rigged. I mean, come on, this is so obvious. Now look at this, 666. Now, why would it be on February 2nd? February 2nd is the 33rd day of the year. And, you know, look at the date, February 2nd. February 2nd equals 156.
Mm-hmm.
33 equals 156. 666 equals 156. Triple sixes, 156, all using the alphabetic order. And what do you know? The Dow plunges 666 points, its worst day since Brexit, on the 33rd day of the year. So that's the kind of thing Gematria can show you. However, there's something even more interesting, right? We just had another huge market dive. It was even bigger than the one from February 2nd. These were the two biggest one-day drops of the year so far. And this time it was 724. Well, here we're talking about 666, right? What is 666? It's the number of the beast, which is 724 in Jewish Gematria. And then the market drops 724 points. Are you fucking kidding me?
Just a coincidence.
But hey, let me tell you what Gematria isn't. You know, it's not trivial. It's because this is what he goes on to say. I got to show you the rest of this. I got to find this. Oh, he said, okay, here we go. So he calls it trivial Gematria.
There are 3 types of Gematria.
So this is new. This is new. They've invented a new form of Gematria.
Apparently.
They've invented a new model because they don't like their secret getting out. So now they've kind of redesigned it to make it look, you know, different and different. So now there's trivial Gematria. You're going to have fucking asshats out there calling things trivial Gematria, trying to sound all smart. They're going to see something I share and they're going to say, huh, that's trivial Gematria. That's not Bible-based. When in reality, it's the same Bible code that is the Gematria code. It's all the same.
Yep. And technical, okay.
Today, the internet is filled with all kinds of Gematria calculators.
Okay.
Did they include yours in there?
Look at this. Wow. Wow. Amy, look what they did. Can you see the top of my screen? Can you see the top? They fudged out Gematrinator. You can't see Gematrinator. Look at this. This is my description. The web's best Gematria calculator, Gematrinator.com. For some reason, the link is all screwed up. Even though it says Gematrinator.com up here, they didn't actually put the link there. That's really weird. I wonder why. Because they're not hiding it, right? Oh, Amy, I can't hear you, so I'm going to hope that I'm still on the air.
I'm sorry. I did it again. I thought I was unmuted and I was muted. Okay, I think that I'm sure that was just a glitch or something, right?
Oh gosh, I don't know. It is weird that they have Gematrinator.com there, and then this is muddy. None of the other links are muddied out.
No,
I just thought
not
it was
one.
weird, like, because, you know, if people go to my site, they're going to see the links to my latest video. They might watch that video. They might learn how Gematria is really being used, and they're going to see how it ain't trivial. It's reality. So that's really interesting. So again, this is what they're doing now to attack gematria. There's so many different calculators.
Yeah, right.
There are so many different types. If you're clever, you can make the numbers say whatever you want.
Oh dear.
I knew it.
Okay, so this is the kind of dumb bullshit they're coming out with to try and steer people away, I guess. I mean, I don't know who in the world is saying stuff like that. You know, I've never come across anybody who's made a connection like that. Granted, I've come across some people who make some bad connections, but you know,
right. Well, yeah. They clearly what they did was they deliberately tried to figure out how to make it. I'm getting echo.
Oh, sorry. That's my bad. Let me turn it down again. Look at look at this.
Jeez.
Are you kidding me? Watch this.
The wretched.
He said, "No, I have double the proof." Hilarious.
Yeah.
So, again, I mean, I don't know what else I need to show people to show them that, you know, there's an effort now being put out there is my only point.
Yep. Absolutely.
So they probably teach you, I didn't actually watch this whole video. They probably teach you some cool things in here, because if they didn't teach you anything cool, then they wouldn't seem legitimate, you know, but they got to teach you some stuff. It's just so blatantly obvious when you pay attention how it's being used in news and media. That's the part they don't want you to see. So
or to just write it off as well, it was just a coincidence.
Right. So yeah, you got guys out there, you know, and again, I called Marty Leeds a character. That's not his real name. He just admitted that, I guess, in one of his live streams recently. That's not his real name. That's a character name. He designed the name Marty Leeds for his channel so he could share his work. My name is Derek Tikkuri. That's my real fucking name. I didn't change it. I'm not hiding anything. I don't have anything to hide from anybody. Well, I don't attack people for trying to share truth and threaten to sue them like a fucking rat.
I will say this. I consider Amaterasu Solar to be my real name because I don't consent to the system, and I am not that name corporation that was stuck on me at birth. I chose my name. This is me. I've got nothing to hide. Everything, there's very little in my on the web in the name corporation, the straw man.
Right.
Virtually everything about me on the web is under Amaterasu Solar. And people are welcome to search me out.
I could probably do more to detach myself from my name, but it seems like a lot of work. And
well, it didn't take me much work. I just chose a name and said, that's it. I'm only going to be sole authorized service provider for that name corporation at my convenience. And I will, and for survival purposes. That's otherwise I don't have anything to do with it.
I like to think I know when it's okay to say my name and when it's okay not to admit being my name. But well, yeah. I haven't had to do that yet, so
good. Let's hope you never really do. But it's good to know that you have some handle on that.
So for those of you who might want to know about Gematria a little more, who haven't really discovered it or want to learn more work and see more about what I do, I have a blog that I'm just might as well plug real quick. It's very easy to get to at gematrinator.com. There's a link on the top bar. Otherwise, it's just gematrinator.com/blog. Pretty simple. So just as an example of what I do, sometimes I do longer decodes than others. What I also try to do is find news stories that seem silly on the surface and then expose them through numbers as fake. And it's not very hard to do. It's not like I have to go hunting for news stories to do this. So one thing that came up today, for instance, is that we had the launch of some Iridium satellites from SpaceX's Falcon Heavy or Falcon 9 rocket. And I was like, you know, Iridium. Okay, so I did a little research on Iridium just to see what it was all about. And what I found out is that an Iridium satellite was involved in the first ever known collision between two satellites. And for those of you who believe that, or who don't believe that there's a lot of satellites circulating the Earth, you're probably going to like this, because I decoded this collision and realized that it looks like fake news propaganda, just like what they always do. And
yeah,
really? Imagine that, right? And I don't know what to think of satellites in outer space and low Earth orbit. I don't know. I know I'm not a flat earther. I know that, and that angers a lot of people, I guess, still. But whatever. I don't like to talk about it because I don't know. It is what it is. We can only see what we see down here.
Right. We've got the problems here that we need.
We got plenty of problems here to worry about.
Yep.
So, I guess my personal belief is that there have been people in low Earth orbit, but as far as outer space goes, I don't know if that's penetrable, and I don't see proof that these rockets are really getting all the way up there. They might just shoot over the ocean for all we know. So anyway, they say that there were 10 satellites in this rocket today, which I don't know how they packed 10 satellites into it, but anyways, looking at the collision, right? It just so happens that the satellite that collided, the Iridium satellite, was called Iridium 33. It was the 33 satellite. And on my blog, I talk about the hoax codes. The hoax codes come from Freemasonry. You got the capital G, right? The capital G on the emblem. We all know about that. Well, in Gematria, in the two letters that take capital letters into account, the two ciphers that take capital letters into account, the capital G is 33, as you can see there.
Yep.
And 13, capital G. So this is kind of like my theory as far as maybe why these two numbers are so significant. Another thing I find interesting is that when you divide 33 by 13, you get 2.54, which is, related to the Metonic cycle. It's the number of time. So these two numbers, these pairings are very significant. And I believe these are the hoax codes in the news. This is what they stamp on news stories to let people know that they're fake without actually coming out and saying this is fake news.
Right. For the people with eyes to see, they'll know it's bogus. Yes. Meanwhile, all the people that aren't looking think, "Ooh, look at this! It happened! Oh my gosh!" Whatever, right. Yep.
So Iridium 33 in Gematria matches the same as the number 13 when spelled out. And just to demonstrate on the actual calculator, right? You type out 13, the hoax code, and this is super significant, 347, the 69th prime. This is the Jewish Hebrew number of sacrifice in Hebrew. So, right, a lot of people don't know that. 347. Anyway, Iridium 33. And here's the thing, right? With when they put numbers in there, they're often calculated in different ways. You can either reduce them, because Iridium 33, Iridium plus 3 equals 347, right? Occasionally, you'll see it where it's full. They use the full numerology. I find that to be, well, it depends on the number. If it's a really big number, that might not be the case. So I don't know. Maybe that's a coincidence. But also consider the gematria of the satellite that it struck, which was Cosmos 2251. And in gematria, this equals 330. See that?
It's just
it's everywhere. It's like, it's not, you don't just see it in one place and say, oh, conspiracy, I found 33, conspiracy. No, we're not stupid. We're not idiots. We see, okay, we see a hint. We see a 33. Where do we go next? We look at the other satellite. Boom, the other satellite's got the other hoax code. So this is what's going on. And, well, there should also be numbers in the dates, right? Well, the date they collided was the 41st day of the year. It had 41 numerology. 41 is the 13th prime number. Again, a 13. And look at the date the rocket was launched. It had 130 numerology, or 13. And even the word satellite equals 103. So how about that? You know, the word satellite in the alphabetic order equals a hoax code, 103, and a 31.
And a 31. You got your 1331 right there.
Yeah, so like, you know, I'm in a neutral position, right? I've spent my whole life assuming that satellites are circling the globe and giving us our communication powers. So I don't know, but then I see things like this and I'm like, man, I guess, I mean, are there any satellites up there? I mean, you'd think they'd crash more often. You'd think we get space debris more often, but it seems incredibly rare that it does happen.
Yeah, well, when you stop and think, though, this planet is mighty big, and the satellites are, relatively speaking, extremely small.
Yes.
And probably plenty wind up in the oceans, which are what, 70% of the planet?
Yep.
So
yeah, they say that two satellites pass within like a kilometer or two of each other several times a day is what they report.
No, I don't believe that, but
I don't know what to think of it. It's on such a massive scale. I would have to run a lot of numbers, but
yep.
I mean, it's just how come these collided like at this with these numbers? I mean, this is not the organic matrix. You know what I mean? You don't have two satellites, two man-made objects up in outer space colliding by the numbers like this. That's not how it works.
Yeah.
There is an organic side to this, again, but it's what's used in order to further everything along. So
to push the agenda, yes.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying. So I guess that's the 1333 hoax code in a nutshell. And I do this all the time. Let me find another here. Another good example was this, the death of this actress, Dushan Monique Brown. So this was a woman who played on Chicago Fire. And I think something big might be happening in Chicago soon. And I say that
I would not be surprised.
Based on trends. I mean, you know, this whole thing with the Valentine's Day massacre, which originally occurred in Chicago. This actress from Chicago Fire just died. And remember that story I talked about with the emergency goalie playing in Chicago for the first time ever? An emergency in Chicago? I mean,
right.
They do. Now, this woman, she's got that November 30th birthday. Look at that. Remember November 30th? The one date on the calendar to have this gematria in Jewish, right?
Yep.
And the date is written 11/3.
Yes, 113.
Right?
Yep.
So let's look at the story. Now, her name, with all reduction exceptions, and you know, say what you want, but this is how it works. Dushan Monique Brown. Let's see, reverse. I forget my shortcuts. RSE. There we go. All right. She's got the 113 in her name. And this is an exception cipher. This is actually probably might be the most significant exception cipher. It's where master numbers are not reduced.
Yep.
And then the H is only reduced once from 19 to 10. 1 + 9 = 10. So she's got a 113 in her name. She was born on a date written 113. And was she 113 days after her birthday? Yes, she was. 113. And her name equals 103, like 13.
Yep.
This is the 27th prime number, by the way, right? So 103, that's the 27th prime. Ritual equals 27. The name Brown equals 27 in forwards and backwards. So there's like some kind of number path that you can follow very clearly through prime numbers, through gematria.
Yep.
She even played a character named Connie, which in Satanic has the 270. But Connie has the 33, right? That'd be good. Let's see. You know, one thing we're doing too is like if you look at dates ahead of time, you can tell when there's going to be some sort of sacrifice. And this is something I need to do more of, is a little more predictions and whatnot. But you know, it's difficult. So this is a date though. Like you always see someone die with numerology matches like this, right? You know, 82 ritual sacrifice.
Right.
46, the word for sacrifice, which in Hebrew is big. Think about 2 times 23, 46. And, you know, she was on Chicago Fire, Chicago 46. Her daughter was named Zoe 46. And you had 3 of the 4 numbers in kill in the date numerology, 17, 44, and 64.
Gee.
And there's more riddles here, but it's just like, what the heck? I mean, when it comes to these actors and actresses, these are the people who I think might be faking their death. Athletes, I believe, are often really dying. I think there's a mix in both sports, and you know, it's not black and white. But
right,
here's an instance where I think there could be a fake death, but who knows? I mean, this woman might really have died. We just don't know.
We don't know.
And one of my favorite examples was this guy who killed himself the day before the total lunar eclipse on January 31st. And people are like, how do you go about decoding deaths? Well, again, check their name, 185, alphabetic order, and then check their age, 8/17/82. 8/17/82 to 1/30/2018. How many weeks is that? It's exactly 1,850 weeks, and his name is 185. Murder by numbers, 1, 2, 3.
Yep.
It's ABCs. You know that's a song, Amy, right?
Oh yeah, Sting.
Well, more specifically, the Police.
The Police, but yeah.
And isn't it funny? I mean, how often do you think it's the police committing these murders by numbers, right?
Haha.
But you have to appreciate that this came out in 83. That was the release date. The word murder equals 83.
83, of course.
Of course. I mean, they wouldn't have it any other way. What's also pretty cool about this album, look at this. Synchronicity equals 1982. And, that was the year they began recording it. See, they just snuck the album in December 82.
Wow.
They started it in Synchronicity, 1982. And you know, how much of what we're talking about is synchronicity.
Right.
So, you know, they put out a song like this, Murder by Numbers. You had another band put out a song called Gematria, the killing name. You know about this one?
I hadn't heard about that one.
So you're going to have fun with this. This is a slam dunk murder by numbers that's just so simple to decode. It's out of this world. So this is the band called Slipknot. Slipknot. Now, first of all, we're talking about 83, and look at that. Oh, Synchronicity 83. I forgot about that too. Synchronicity 83. So they started recording in 1982, but released it in 83. Because why? Because Gematria.
Yeah.
All right. So we're looking at All Hope Is Gone. This is a Slipknot album. Now, the word death equals 38. The word murder, 38. Killing, 38. And what I believe this comes from, this is funny, but you got to type in Jesus the Christ, and then you get the actual literal translation of Jesus Christ as it is in Hebrew. And in Hebrew reduction, this sums to 38. And it's just amazing how much is coded around the killing of Jesus. All these rituals we see on television, so many of them have this underlying numerical theme about the crucifixion of Jesus Christ. Of course, no better example exists than the Tupac and Biggie cases. I have a pretty long post on that. I got a video out. A total, like, just reliving of the sacrifice of Jesus. 9/11, same thing. I could go over that, but so you got this 38, and you know all these numbers that have to do with death, murder, and killing sum to 38. Let me clean this up here. Slipknot in single reduction. Oh no, they don't. What is it? Hang on a sec. It's been a while since I looked at this one. All Hope Is Gone was the album, right? You have 213. That's the satanic gematria of death.
Right.
Death equals 213 in that site, in that method. And then you had a track called Gematria, the Killing Name. Find that. The second track on there, 603, let's see, 6 times 6, 363 seconds. Interesting. So in Gematria, Gematria sums to 74, and this song is called The Killing Name. Word killing equals 74, right?
Right.
Let's look up the date that this album came out on. August 20th, 2008. So this album came out on a date with double numerology of 38. 8 plus 20 plus 2 plus 8, or 8 plus 2 plus 0 plus 20 plus 8. You got double 38. Yep. Also, this was, I don't know if I realized this. This is the 233rd day of the year. August 20th, it was a leap year, 233. Look at the word gematria. 233 in Jewish gematria. Look at that. And in reduction, gematria is 38. 38.
Wow.
Like killing. So this is 100% the code they're using to release their albums, to put out work about gematria by the numbers of gematria.
Yep.
Now, one of these members of the band actually died. He was found dead of a drug overdose in a hotel room. Let's see. I got to find this guy. Paul Gray. So Paul Gray was a member of Slipknot up until the year 2010 when he died. And first of all, Paul Gray equals 38. Paul Gray, 38 reduction. Also known as the Pig.
Oh, dear.
38.
38.
Reduction. Or number 2. Okay, well. Interesting number 2. I wonder why number 2. I didn't actually decode this, so I don't know what it's going to say.
Well, that may have something to do with the prisoner. I mean, I don't know, but are you aware of The Prisoner?
I'm not.
It's a series, and I highly recommend that you watch it. It was awesome. It was with Patrick McGowan, and it was in the when was it, like 80s or 90s? I can't remember offhand, but it's called The Prisoner, and I'm pretty sure you can watch some of the episodes on the web somewhere. But every episode they had a different number 2 who was in charge of everything, and Patrick's character was always asking, who is number 1? And number 2 would always say, you are number 6. Or if you listen carefully to some of them, they're saying, you are number 6. Mostly, though, it sounds like you are number 6. And
it's interesting. The prisoner equals 147, and number 2 equals 1407. I don't know. That could be coincidence. Whatever.
Maybe, but that's what I think when I see the number 2.
All right. So, yeah. So, I mean, maybe it has something to do with it. Like I said, there's a gematric relationship right there.
Yep.
It's weird. So Paul Diedrich Gray, and all these guys I think they were all numbered in the band actually, but I don't know. So look at his name, Paul Diedrich Gray, 74. Gematria, 74. killing 74. Like, crazy.
Wow.
So Des Moines, Iowa. His family relocated to Des Moines, Iowa after he was born. Des Moines equals 373. That's the 74th prime number. See that?
Got it.
Another 74.
74. Just to let you know, we've had a couple of questions in the chat. Blue Blood asked earlier to ask you about École Polytechnique massacre, 4/20, 1989. I don't know. I think that's something that you'd have to do some work on. But Sandra, I'm not even going to try to say her last name. She says, "What are you?" She says, "Derek, what are your thoughts about all these maths?" I think she's not English is not her native language. So.
Portuguese.
And do you think that there are many groups? Whoops, it slid past me. Do you think there are many groups working with numbers in each segment, such as entertainment, politics?
So yeah, I mean, entertainment, politics, sports, Hollywood. That's the network. I mean, that is the network of this cabal that's running the world.
Yeah.
I think everyone who runs sports knows exactly what the people who are running entertainment are doing. All the entertainment folks know exactly what's going on.
Yep.
With the sports folks, in the news, in the media, in world politics, global government. I mean, at first I thought they were just stamping their propaganda so that they know that it's theirs, but I do believe they are communicating through this code as well. I don't have any way of knowing what a message looks like or how to find it, but I don't have any doubt that there is communication as part of this, whether they're communicating with the numbers. And, that's a part that I'm not really into right now, because when you talk about deciphering messages, that's a whole new ball game than just simple gematria. I just want to show people that they are coding. And, if enough people realize what's happening, we can stop this world order that's been built by this code and not have to worry about it instead of, trying to figure it out. You know what I mean?
Exactly. Exactly.
That's what I'm more focused on. I don't really care what they're saying to each other. I don't want to waste my time trying to figure it out, because I probably never will, because they're putting ciphered messages out there. We probably can't figure it out unless you're like a real genius. And I know people have thrown that word at me, but no, that's out of my league.
Yep.
So, I mean, is it different groups? I mean, I think sort of, maybe. I mean, they're working with the same knowledge, that's for sure.
Now we were going to go over we did some of the bombing, right? Did we cover the other things that we had on our list?
I forgot what I put on the list. Because honestly, Amy, my whole week was the Austin bombings. I mean, I dipped into like a level of obsession with that I had not with any other event I've decoded before, I don't think.
Well, it shows, because you had some excellent work put out on that.
Yeah, thank you. It was I mean, like I said, I think we figured it out. I mean, we're not just finding numerical patterns, we're figuring out exactly what they're doing and what they're paying tribute to.
How the patterns are determined, and what some of their meanings are. Yep.
Yes, precisely. This massacre here, I already know it occurred on the date 6/12, as it's written internationally, like in Canada.
Right.
6/12 is such a huge number that we've been seeing on these school shootings. Dunblane massacre. This was 6,120 days before Sandy Hook. Yeah, this is how many days were between those two shootings. And the Dunblane massacre was a massacre of first graders in England. And then Sandy Hook was a massacre of first graders here, and they were separated by that many days. And then you had the 6/12 Orlando Pulse shooting. Orlando Strong was the phrase. That sums to 6/12. And then 612 days after that, you had the Marjorie Stoneman Douglas shooting. And remember, that was the Eagles. And the Eagles just won the Super Bowl in Minneapolis, which has the 612 area code. And then even like the other most famous school shooting, Columbine High School, 612. What is going on with that number? I don't know. It's out of control.
Yeah, it looks like it.
And then you're like, oh, well, what about the biggest shooting in Canadian history? Oh, it's on the date December 6th, 12/6. I mean, what are the odds?
Yes.
They're not good. So
I would say that the odds of it, an organic occurrence, are, if not approaching infinity to 1, at least in that general range.
Right. And I just wanted to finish this guy because there were some other really cool things that stuck out.
Okay.
Really obvious things that stuck out, I should say. We looked at, remember how I said Des Moines was the 74th, or the 74th prime number?
Yeah.
Well, Des Moines, Iowa equals 74 also. So you just have like one after the other, just constant 74 parade. So if you go to his death, it was May 24th, 2010. So let's say, all right, May 24th, 2010. He was born on 4/8/1972. And he was 457 months old. That's the 88th prime number. But more importantly is he was 38 years old.
Wow.
And he was 46 days after his birthday. Remember, sacrifice 46.
Yep.
So this guy dies at 38. His name is Paul Gray, 38. He was the pig, 38. Talking about gematria and killing, 38. Just off the charts. So then look at this. He died in room 431. 431 is the 83rd prime number. And again, murder equals 83. What was the date numerology on his death, by the way? Let's see. Look at his birthday, 13/31, 103/31 numerology.
Yep, he's got a lot of that stuff going.
So 59, that's the full numerology, 5 plus 24 plus 20 plus 10. That's the Jewish gematria of kill, 59. So you're always going to see at least one of those numbers. And then in Jewish, all three of these numbers. 14, 41, 59. 14, 41, 59. This is so you have to have some sort of alignment in the dates. You know, you got to have some sort of alignment to the birthday.
Right.
You find that there's significance to each of those numbers, and eventually, when enough of those numbers line up, you see someone die. Is what it comes down to. So, just trying to get that word out there.
Kind of, yeah, because if you've got those numbers, you want to be mighty careful, I guess.
Well, yeah, and you know, I've had some people comment on my videos, and they've been like, "Oh my God, I'm 46 years old. My name sums to 46," and I'm like, "You're gonna be fine. Like, they're not gonna kill you, some normal person sitting behind their computer just doing nothing."
Right.
You know, this is people who are contracted to the gang. Artists,
yes.
Actors, people who are getting paid, people who are living lives of luxury based on the system, you know, because they didn't earn the system, and that's why they feel like it's okay to sacrifice them because they've given them undue wealth and just, you know, all that good stuff. So that's why they think they can get away with it and make it okay. So I tell these people, look, you're fine. Now, on a personal note, I do believe that this murder by numbers stuff does still happen at a local level to some extent. And again, we're all born by the numbers, you know, and, you know, we're talking about 119 before, number for the all-seeing eye. And, you know, think about this. Like, when I look at my birthday, first of all, my mom's name is 119, right? And if you measure from my birthday to her birthday, it's 1 month, 19 days.
Hmm.
And if you measure to my dad's next birthday, it's 9 months, 11 days.
Wow. Oh my gosh,
And
that's
then
incredible.
I had a girlfriend that I lived with for a couple years, and we broke up a couple years ago, and her name sums to 119, and we met on 11/9. So
Wow.
yeah, there's something pretty crazy about that. And, you know, I'm sure we all die by the numbers too. And like, even if it's just the simplest thing, like, you know, there's been a couple deaths recently in that I've known about within family and friends of the family, where I didn't get to decode their name and their birthday and everything. But for instance, my old neighbor, he died at the age of 63, and all I was able to see was the date that he died, and it was 6/30. And I'm like, wow,
Wow.
like, I'm looking at this pamphlet, like, I can't decode it. I don't know his full name. I don't know his birthday, but I see the date he died and it matches his age. I'm just like, that's so weird. Well,
Yeah,
then
that is.
on March 6th this year, the date 6/3, it was actually the same day that I had a dream about my dad dying, and I woke up real sad. It turns out my half brothers, their uncle died of a heart attack that day.
Wow.
And he was 63 years old, and he died on the date March 6th, or 6/3. So it's like,
Wow.
even those two deaths seem to be just have a hint at numerology there. So I believe that's happening. Now, what really trips me out is that I have a cousin, and, you know, I talk about how all these sacrifice rituals appear to be like related to Jesus Christ and the numerology of Jesus.
Right.
And I had a cousin named Christopher who died very mysteriously. He had a stroke at the age of 18. And
Wow.
18, you know, well, first of all, Jesus is 61. That's the 18th prime number.
Right.
My cousin died at
Okay.
the age of 18. I could get into it. I mean, it's really wild. If I were to do a video, and I've started like putting work together, but I never did work on it, you would say holy murder by numbers. I mean, it is the most coded thing I've ever seen. Even the way in which he died. He had a stroke on a Saturday night, and then he was flown to Milwaukee, where he spent 3 days, and then he had a stroke 3 days after his first, and then he died. Does that remind you of a Jesus thing, like 3 days later?
Yeah, yep, sure does.
He died on the date 2/25, March 25th, Milwaukee, Wisconsin, 2/25. And, you know, what gets me about it is that through the grace of God, I ended up working with this woman at the warehouse that I managed the supply chain for at work. She has the same last name that my cousin had. He was my cousin on my mom's side. He was my mom's twin son, so he had a different last name. She lost a brother on the exact same date, and his name was the same last name. And he died of a mysterious car crash down in Florida. And she actually drove down there and can't understand. She can't figure out how the crash occurred as it did, like how the person got T-boned where they say it happened. So she's always been suspicious about it.
Shall we play the Twilight Zone music here?
This is what my life has been. I mean, ever since I got into this stuff and started talking about it, it's just been one crazy discovery after another. And the fact that this is the one woman at the warehouse who was doing my shipping and receiving for 2 years, and her brother with the same last name died on the same day my cousin did. And I was already suspicious that something happened to my cousin. Like, because here's the thing, my cousin wasn't just any person. He wasn't like your normal regular guy. He was a regular guy, but he was into theater. He was a big-time stage actor. In fact, he was employed to some extent, I don't know how, but through the Wisconsin Lutheran Synod. And he hosted a show called Kids Connection. Kids Connection equals 223. And think about it. It was a synod that was running this thing. And, you know, a synod, right? An assembly of the clergy, right? But think about synod and return to synodic months.
Right.
How there's 223 synodic months in a sorrow cycle, right? A sorrow, it's 223. So he was on a show called Kids Connection. It was distributed to various middle schools, elementary schools, and he would introduce segments, talk about things that are going on in the church community. So when he died, a lot of people showed up for his funeral. And this is why I think something was up with it, is because if you're going to kill somebody, right, you want it to make an impact. You want people to be sad about it. It's a sacrifice. Yeah. And there were like literally 1,000 people at my cousin's funeral.
Wow.
And, I mean, he was very popular. He was like, when I was younger, I was introverted, and he was like the exact opposite. He was just, I'll do whatever. Like literally, you can tell me to jump up and down off the couch, and I will do it. That was his personality. And
wow.
So this is what I want to know, because he was in peak physical condition. This is a kid who made state championship in wrestling for like 3 years in high school. The peak of his life, the prime of his life. And he had a stroke, something that, because of a disorder that tends to only develop in 50-year-old women and older.
Yeah, that's pretty. I mean, I suppose you could say that there is some probability of that happening, but it would be really, really, really low.
Well, and this is where we get to the eclipse stuff, because before this year, I didn't know about how these events were all related to the solar eclipse. Not before 2017. We never even thought about it. It wasn't until the eclipse started approaching where I actually texted Zach one day, and I said, "Hey, Zach, when something happens now, we should start thinking about measuring to the date of the eclipse, because I think that's a significant thing." And right, like the next week, we had the death of Chris Cornell. And here's a guy named Chris, like Christ, Christopher John Boyle. The date he died, after they changed it to May 18th. Three months and 3 days before the eclipse.
Wow. Yeah.
33.
Yep.
And not only that, but you got your Francis Bacon gematria. Eclipse equals 95. This converts to 95 days. See that? 95 days, another eclipse number. And look at the weeks. 13 weeks, 4 days. Solar eclipse equals 134. So this is the perfect day for an eclipse sacrifice. Furthermore, there's 227 days left in the year. And it had 33 numerology. So it's just a great day. Great day for a big celebrity to die. I
would have to agree with you.
Now, this is what trips me out. And this is why I think that this cult, this fucking cult that's murdering people, this is why I think it may be hitting a little closer to home than a lot of people realize. There was one total solar eclipse around the time of my cousin's death. It was in 2003. November 23rd, 2003. And with the end date included, 3 months, 3 days, 95 days, 13 weeks, 4 days. And look at the numerology of my cousin's death. 33, 31, 33, 13, 31.
Wow.
I mean, look at that. 310 days left in the year. He died 319 days before his birthday. Killing equals 319. So, pretty wild, hey?
It is. Kind of stunning.
Yeah, and we talked about that number 38, right? Remember Jesus Christ in Hebrews 38, death, murder, killing, like you see right here. Oh, I stopped at 38. How convenient. 38.
I saw that.
The 163 is the 38th prime number. His name was 163. There's so many numbers here. I could go on, but and then even his birthday. 163.
Lots of alignments there.
Well, yeah, and what was the other one? Yeah, Chris J. Gadzinski, look at that. Jewish Gematria, 1510. That's 151 in numerology. Jesus Christ, 151. So, and this is just like the surface of this whole thing. And this is my cousin. I mean, what the hell is going on in this world? And, you know, look, I have to be open to the idea that this is all happening organically and that he just happened to die. You know, because look, my mom, my own mother was in the hospital when my cousin was still alive after his first stroke. And she was there with her twin sister to give him an MRI. And I've gotten an MRI done before. I just laid there, you know, nobody's telling you nobody's holding you still. You're not strapped down, you're just there.
Right.
When my cousin had his MRI done, they had my mom and her sister hold him down to make sure he didn't move, right? And then they showed him the results, and they showed the picture of the blood clot that was in his neck, right? And that was all magnetic resonance imaging. So my mom's like, there's no way that they killed him. I mean, he really had this disease. He really had this disorder. We saw the bad artery that this occurred from.
Right.
And I'm like, well, I mean, could it be faked? Maybe. How far does this go? Or are we in the Matrix and this is just what's happening? And
it's conceivable that he might have been slipped something that created that in him.
Do you think there's like something that could pinch an artery? You know what I mean? Like I don't know how to.
Possibly, maybe it was you know, some kind of a drug that caused the blood to clot.
Well,
I'm just throwing out.
Yeah, no, this is the mystery we have with all these deaths. I mean, with all these celebrities dying, how are they really dying? I mean, Prince in an elevator, you know, Michael Jackson getting overdosed. I mean, what's really killing these people? So I have no idea. All I know is that my cousin, he just remembers waking up on the floor of his dorm and just not knowing what happened. Like he got out of the shower, he came back, and next thing you knew, he was on the floor. And then, yeah, they flew him back, and he said he felt fine. Everything was cool. You know, they just kept him in the hospital because they said we have to make sure he doesn't have a stroke in within 3 days, within 72 hours. That was what they told us. And then he did have a stroke 72 hours later that he didn't survive. So what was the point of keeping him in the hospital if he was just going to have the fucking stroke and die anyway? I don't know.
Well, I think they probably were hoping they could help if another one came along. Clearly not, or maybe they didn't help. I mean, conceivably they didn't help on purpose, but, you know,
well,
who knows?
Yeah, exactly. And it's like, you know, what did I say? What's really going on here? But so I mentioned how that same day, my coworker with the same last name, Jay Gadzinski, her brother died in Florida on that same day, way down in Florida. And, you know, that's what's wild too. Like Florida, look at Florida, 38.
Wow.
I think it was in Cape Coral, Florida, 38.
Oh, jeez.
And look at the building it happened in front of, Amy. Look at this. It's shaped like an L. Like an L.
Yeah, it is.
And in Hebrew Gematria, you know, their god El. Well, we got to go ordinal Gematria here. It's Aleph and Lamed. Aleph Lamed, El, 1331. That's what this whole thing is about, you know, the eclipse
Yes.
1331.
Yep.
Their god El, and he got in a suspicious car crash in front of this building. And let me tell you one more thing. There was, not only did he die, but another woman died in another car. And that woman was a 17-year veteran of the police force, a dispatcher. So did they do like a combined sacrifice in the middle of the night? Because that's when this crash happened. It was in the middle of the night. Again, the word kill equals 17. I'm trying to wake people up. And I like I said, I don't even know what I'm trying to wake them up to. But there is something happening in this world. It's kind of scary. It's kind of ominous. But we have to know because, you know, here I am starting to share this info. And finally, people are starting to see it. You know, in the month of January, in the 4 weeks before my channel was taken down by YouTube, I had over 300,000 views on my channel.
Nice.
That's better than a lot of television stations, like a lot of television shows. I was doing better than them. And YouTube took my channel down right as that started happening. So look, I'd like to think that we're all just in the matrix and this is just how it happens. But here I'm trying to share this information. It's getting shut down. We're getting called a liar. We're getting propaganda put out against us. I'm telling you, I'm wondering, I think that this whole country of the United States is just a killing field. It's just a goyim killing field for the slaves. That's what it seems like. All our hospitals are coded with the numbers of death. All these hospital companies, their addresses are coded with numbers of death. You know,
wow.
I've begun telling people, if you feel sick, do not go to a hospital because guess what? They're going to run your numbers. They might fucking kill you.
Yes.
And I feel like a nutcase saying that on the internet to people, but
no, I under the circumstances, based on the evidence that we have to work with, I would say that that's probably not a bad bit of advice.
Right. You got to take care of yourself. You got to know what you're eating. You know, don't eat a lot of food. That's the first thing that people have to realize is like, don't eat a lot. You can eat what you want. Don't eat a lot of it. It's stuffing yourself that makes you fat. So, and ultimately, that's what leads to sickness. Fat and dehydration. I don't know what the percentage is, but it's like it's got to be like less than 10% of people drink the daily recommended amount of water. And most diseases, most illnesses come from dehydration. And when you're drinking things like soda and beer, you're dehydrating yourself. You're negating what water you have drank. So that's why people are getting sick. It's not because, well, and GMOs and, you know, the shit in the food.
Yeah, there are many factors, and not to mention the stuff they're spraying in our air.
Right.
Which can't be good. I mean,
no, that's leading to cancer, I think.
Well, and I think it's also leading to, like, you know, I've been having, like I said, I've been having not major memory problems, but little memory problems here and there. And, you know, the aluminum that they're spraying us with does affect one's mental capacities. So I ponder whether that's what's going on with me. I try to eat a lot of cilantro because it's an excellent, see, I forgot the word, chelator.
Sure.
So.
And I just want to point out to people too, I can't think of anybody I know who smokes weed who has cancer. I mean, got cancer.
Really?
Maybe that's just me. That's my own personal experience.
Well, I can't say I know anybody either that partakes of that medicine.
Oh, well, I know people who partake in the medicine, and I'm just saying it's interesting
that have didn't finish there that have cancer.
Okay.
I don't know. Believe me, I know some people that partake.
Okay, I figured. Like we all do, right? I mean, come on.
Yes, I would if I could afford it.
So isn't it bizarre though that, you know, we're given all these bullshit cancer drugs, they zap us, they kill us. I mean, what's going on with that? And cancer cure equals 420 in Gematria.
I love it. I love it. 420. Oh, that is good. That is good.
Well, and this comes from Hebrew. The word for smoke in Hebrew. See that? Smoke.
Cool.
420.
Nice.
So it doesn't get too much more obvious, I don't think. You know, what's really happening, what the real code is. It's just funny. It's like all we had to do is build this little stinking calculator and the veil is gone. I mean, for anybody with willingness and eyes to see, pretty obvious how this is being run, how this country is being run, and that we're being enslaved. And like I said, revelations in my personal life too have just blown my mind recently and made a lot more sense of certain things.
Yep. Well, I'm really, you know, I wish that I had some way to figure out how to use it to my advantage in sharing awareness of the fact that we can just stop consenting and consent to something better. And yeah, the first few people aren't going to have, I mean, it'll be difficult on them. But if 80% of us were going, we're not paying any attention to you guys, we're over here doing this, I'm thinking something good will happen on this planet.
Right.
So.
Well, I hope so. I mean, our only hope is to spread awareness of what's going on, because just what I see in people is that there's no willingness, there's no ambition, there's a strong lack of self-pride, and no one wants to succeed. There's just, I can. Well, it's enough fun playing video games, so I'll just do this forever. Like, I get a lot of that.
There's also a lot of, so they're poisoning our food, water, and air. Meh. And I'm thinking, what do you mean? This should matter to you.
Right.
And many people, it's like, whatever.
I guess we've gotten far enough away from where we should be slowly enough that too few people are jumping out of the pot of boiling water.
Yep.
And
yep. Very true. It's sad. But
so I guess the last thing I wanted to mention too is that, there's a lot of people who have been calling for, certain, there's a lot of predictions for terrorist attacks and whatnot. And, I've done my own little decoding, and there's definitely something up with the city of Seattle, I think. I don't know when, I don't know what, but that city is coded badly, like very bad. And there's so many, when you look at the date numerologies of the Space Needle and when that was constructed and stuff, very strange things pop up. Seattle equals 44. That's the number for kill. You have 541. That's the 10th star number. Israel is 541. But what's really interesting, Seattle equals 321. And think about how it has the letters ATT in it, like attack. So does Manhattan. Manhattan equals 321. Like a countdown, it's like the only city I found in Jewish gematria that also has 321 coding on it. Also, Seattle equals 19. And we talked about the 19 with the eclipse sacrifices and whatnot. Well, when you write out 19, it sums to 244 in Jewish. And what I don't like about this number, and it's coded all over death and killing rituals, because the word for kill equals 244 in Hebrew. Now, in the year 2020, the U.S. will be 244 years old. And think about how much, various type of programming, predictive programming there's been around the numbers 2020. It's how we define our vision, how we can see. And if you're going to ever have a big event, and that it's going to be in 2020, you would create another term, right, to kind of muddy it up, because before 9/11, you had the 911 emergency dialing code. So if you said 9/11, if we're two people who know about what's going to happen on 9/11, we're talking about 9/11, and someone overhears us, we're just talking about the emergency dialing code number or something, right? Oh, same thing with 2020, right? 2020, just 2020 vision. The point is, there's another term that it means something else. Well, if you look at the TV series 2020, here we go. Whoa, what's June 6th? Why does June 6th refer to 2020? This is weird. Whoa. Hang on. I'm really curious now. This is a TV series, 2020, and they debuted on the date June 6th, 6/6, Revelation, the 66th book of the Bible. Now, sorry, what? Oh, I should screen share.
Okay, let me see if I can get you set up for that.
And again, I don't want to be an ominous sounding person. I don't want to the last thing I want to do is scare people. This year's a while. It's a couple years away, but there's some things very serious going on in this country, and people need to be informed. And as someone who, I'm a skeptic. You know, I'm the last person who's going to jump on the September 23rd Revelation star alignment thing. Like, ooh, the world's going to end that thing. You would never hear me say a peep like anything about that. I'm just saying this code is real. They're really trying to keep this a secret from us, and it's revealing many things. And what I see in these numbers is ominous. So, all right.
Yes.
So 2020 started on the date June 6th, and June 6th, again, 6/6, Revelation, the 66th book of the Bible. Of course, 666, the number of the beast. We all know that. Now, if you measure from 1978, the year that they began, to the year 2020, they'll be on the air for 42 years. And in the book of Revelation, the beast rules for 42 months. Speaking of the beast, as of July 2020, 1 month after this show turns 42 years old, Donald Trump will have been in office for 42 months. So you have that alignment.
Wow.
But this is what's really bizarre about this, right? Is the creator of the series. When you decode this guy, it's really freaky. Rune Alrej, look at this. This guy sums to 119. And check out his Jewish gematria, 347. And you'll see what this all means. Just a sec here. The word for sacrifice in Hebrew is 347. 347, like the number 13. Also, he's got 119. See that?
Yep.
Revelation equals 119 in Jewish gematria.
Mm-hmm.
However, let's see. I don't know why 2020 and June 6th were related. It's so weird. I'll figure that out later. So let's go to this guy's page, right? Rune Alrej. And if you take his full name and punch it in, look at this. You get double gematria of 244. English ordinal and Jewish ordinal, 244.
Wow.
Again, in the year 2020, when the U.S. turns 244, that'll be 42 years. And you know what? Maybe this coding is just celebrating that fact, right? Hey, the U.S. will be 244 in 2020, so let's make sure the guy who is listed as the creator has gematria of 244. Because, you know, this is what they do. They just have a class of people, and they insert them into whatever they're best coded for.
Yep.
This guy, Rune Alrej, is just, he's a smurf. He's just one of them. You know, he's dropped into this role, no doubt about it.
Yep.
July 8th, 1931. I wonder what this is all about. Numerology of 65. 603 score and sixth is 313, the 65th prime. I don't know. It's a revelation number. But that double 244 is really, really weird. And plus you got an upside down 911 on top of it.
Yes, you do.
And a number for death and homicide, 118. Death, 118. Homicide, 118.
Wow.
So it's some pretty weird stuff. And what I love about these anchors, right? Like if you look at the list of anchors that they've had, let's see. Where is the... Well, I'll think of some off the top of my head, right? You had Diane Sawyer on the show for a long time. Diane, 33. Sam equals 33. You had Sam Donaldson.
Right.
There was John Stossel, which equals 156, like 33, 156. 33 equals 141. Barbara Walters, 141. It's just a 33 parade. And then you had like Connie Chung, CC, right? You had Chris Cuomo, CC.
Right.
You had, I think it was a guy named Gibson, Sam Gibson. Gibson's 33 reverse. It's just, like everyone they put on television on that show is a flippin' 33. But here's the list of anchors. Find this. Former, yeah. Robert Hughes. Robert equals 33.
Yep.
Oh, John Miller. Miller equals 33. Yeah. And then the CC, the John Stossel, the CC. They've been doing this ever since their start. So, I mean, I don't know. Maybe it's nothing, but I think people should think. And if it's going to be in the year 2020 when the U.S. is 244 years old, you know, they wouldn't do it in a city that sums to 244, but they would do it in a city that sums to 19, which sums to 244. You know what I mean? Because one number leads to another. Is so often.
Yep.
Let's see. I don't want to get more into this because it's just a silly prediction right now. But when you're looking at cities that are coded by the numbers, Seattle is the max, and even the mayor of Seattle right now. Her name is Jenny Durkin, and she's got the 137, the 47.
Yep. Wow.
Seattle's on the 47th parallel. A lot of people know that they know Seattle famously for the Space Needle. Space equals 44. Space Needle equals 44. Seattle equals 44.
Wow.
And they just re-signed Ichiro at 44 years old. Ichiro, 44. Also, Seattle, if you look at their coordinates, you know, we saw 47. They have the restaurant that rotates every 47 minutes.
Yep.
But check out how it's on the 122nd meridian. The Space Needle equals 122.
Wow.
Interesting that it also equals 67, the 19th prime number, in lieu of Seattle, 119. Oh, and the mayor, too, Jenny Durkin. She's got this 142 double gematria in Jewish.
Yep.
I don't know if this is significant yet, eclipse sacrifice. But when the Space Needle was designated as a landmark, she was 40 years, 48 weeks old. And the Space Needle construction lasted like, what was it? It was 48 weeks, 4 days, I forget. Before, but that number popped up in the duration of the Space Needle construction over and over again. But this name, Jenny Ann Durkin, has this 1506. She's the mayor. And not to mention a 234. You add this to 432, it sums to 666. But this 1506, that's false flag, 156. One of the biggest false flags, Sandy Hook Elementary School, 156.
It's really incredible.
Prime number is 911. So,
yep.
You know, she's definitely coded out for something to happen there. I have no doubt about it. So,
yep.
I don't know, man. I mean, you know, Zach's getting out of the Seattle area. I don't know if that's related to this, but strange times.
We're getting up towards the 3-hour mark here.
Right on.
We've got about 7 minutes to go. So I was wondering if there was any final thoughts and stuff that you wanted to share.
Final thoughts. Not quite. I don't know what to think of all this personally. I mean, we've discovered something quite amazing about how our world works.
Yep.
How those in power in the world are operating, you know, running their business. But, you know, as much as I'd like to get to the bottom of it and understand what's going on, we need to stop what's happening because they're using this against us. My First Amendment right has been stepped on by YouTube, who, you know, is here under the guise of spreading information and helping people, and obviously nothing of the sort.
Not even close.
Now, after they stepped on our First Amendment rights, now they're trying to take away our ability to protect our First Amendment rights, which is by Second Amendment. And it shocks me that there's still people who think that they're not coming for the guns. Like, they might not be trying to take my gun. They might not be trying to take your gun, but they are trying to create a generation of kids who hate guns, who don't want them. And for the ones who do want guns because they understand what they're useful for, those people can be put in a database. And it looks like we're far away from that yet because, you know, the way I see it, this global government thing is way behind schedule. I don't know.
Well, maybe not, but I'm hoping that's the case.
It seems like each year, you know, back in 2013, they tried to get into war in Syria and they just had no support for it. They couldn't build the support. They put a lot of propaganda out there for the people and they didn't get support for it.
True.
I mean, but what's got me a little on edge, though, is what's going on with the Trump cabinet. He's got the former director of the CIA stepping in as the Secretary of State. So now you've got the, you know, a merge, a very public merge of the intelligence community with the diplomatic.
You do notice how he's draining the swamp, right?
No, he's drinking the swamp.
Yes.
He's drinking the swamp up with a big straw, and he's loving it, and he's shitting it out, and it's falling on all the American people.
Yep. Well, all part of the script, though.
I think so. Yeah. I mean, there was a period where I was like, "What's up with this Trump guy? Is he really anti-establishment?" You know, but it didn't take long for him to show his colors. It's pretty obvious what he is. He is a divider.
Yeah, I had already pegged the politicians as you know, actors before he hit the scene, so I didn't have any difficulties saying something's wrong here. This guy is full of it.
Yeah, and what really,
and as usual, you know, campaign promises.
Yeah, I mean, the first thing that really clued me in the fact that something was going on was this. You know, he was sworn in. He was 70 years, 7 months, 7 days old. And then he ran his campaign for 511 days, the numbers of Saturn. And Trump already lines up with Saturn in Gematria in all sorts of ways. So that clued me off. I mean, it's also, 31 weeks, 4 days after his birthday, like pi. And then it goes even deeper, right? So think about how Trump was born during a total lunar eclipse. So the side of the Earth that was facing the sun was the side of the Earth that Trump was on when he was born, and then you had the lunar eclipse going on in the background, right, on the other side. And in Hebrew Gematria, total lunar eclipse equals 445. Donald Trump, the 44th person, but the 45th president. 44, 45, like total lunar eclipse. I mean, this stuff runs really deep. It's just really deep. And I still think there's a chance that they're going to do some kind of hoax assassination. I don't know if they really will, but because I feel like an event that big would cause a lot of people to start looking. And, that's part of my theory as to why they started attacking everything on YouTube, is because they got something planned and they know people are going to be rushing to the internet to find out what's going on. And we're going to have the fucking goods. We're going to have the goods. We're going to know what's, and if we're on an equal playing field as the media, they're going to know that we know what we're talking about. So they have to put us on a lower level. I just can't get any of these YouTube stations with 100,000 plus subscribers to share Gematria. Nope. They don't want to share it. Maybe they think it's too dangerous. I don't know, but
I have similar issues trying to get people to share my ideas.
Difficult. I mean,
few people with a little bit, but not the big ones, even close.
Well, hopefully, we're starting to wake some more younger people up. A lot of the people who come into my Discord chat that I advertise, a lot of these people are in school. They've in school who are wondering, what the hell am I doing here? I don't like what I'm learning. They come across some legit knowledge, and suddenly learning is fun, and now they want to talk about it. I mean, I've been obsessed with this for like a year or two now, and if I found out about this when I was that age, man, I would have my calculator would be so much better. Like, that's when I was building websites back then. I was just learning to code, and I'm kind of jealous of all these kids who are finding this information, but at the same time, I feel bad for them because they still got to suffer it out through school. And I didn't make it to school. I dropped out of high school. Like I said, I'm at a very fortunate position in life considering all the things I've done and gone through. But I didn't make it through. I couldn't stand it. I had to get out.
Oh, I loathed school, but I managed to get through the high school and even some college, which finally I just threw up my hands and said, no, I'm outie.
Sure.
Anyway.
You've never adorned the mortarboard, the Saturn. Thank gosh.
I did once.
Oh, well.
Oh, well.
You're clean now.
Absolutely. On that note, it's 10 o'clock, and I think that it has been an awesome show. You have been tremendously wonderful because you've kept things flowing and put out a lot of information.
It's impossible not to get sidetracked a little bit, but I think we minimized it.
Yes, we managed to do pretty well. Thank you so much, Derek. And I'm going to be, I wish I could play the music for everybody, but I have not the capabilities to do that.
Bummer.
So you'll just have to imagine the music going out here. Oh, well. There we go. All right. I'm going to shut it down now, and love to everybody who was in the chat. There are so many people, I don't think I could cover you all. So love always to everyone.
Love always, everyone. Have a good night. God bless.